job openings, they are particularly rising with the demand and with the flexibility of remote work that has just opened up.
Okay, Suraj, I'm going to stop you because I think we're going live in a minute.
Okay,
and then
I can cover it during this
this.
session.
Yes. Okay, I think, are we, Gaurang, are we live? Okay. Welcome to day 3 of the first ever Collegepond Virtual Mentorship Symposium. We had some amazing sessions across day 1 and day 2 with mentors educating us about first-hand experience on the securing their dream admit, career post-MS, ROI on overseas education, and several trending careers in computer science. Today, we've lined up 6 sessions with 10 trailblazers to delve deeper into the practical aspects of different trending and niche careers. Suraj Iyer is going to be the first speaker for us and one of the first mentors that we're going to have today. That he's going to be speaking about decoding an organization's network backbone. Right. Before we start, each session we will get the mentors to introduce themselves, following which I will pose questions of frequently asked questions and then leave it to the audience to ask their questions. Suraj, welcome. I know it's early morning for you. Okay. Welcome to our first ever symposium. You want to introduce yourself, Suraj, if you don't mind?
Yeah, for sure. Hey, everyone, to every student joining from India and across. My name is Suraj, and I was a student with Collegepond back in 2017. And I did my master's in Canada at the University of Toronto, majored in electrical and computer engineering. And my specialization has been in telecommunications, and that's where I ended up getting a job at TELUS. And my role here has been primarily on the networking domain. So I work on a network function virtualization team as a technology specialist, handling the platform deployment and maintenance. I'm more of a DevOps engineer for my team. So yeah, that rounds up my brief introduction. So you can take on.
Okay, so Suraj, just a question. I have one question that I learned earlier in day 2 is they want to know what is your academic profile to get into U of T. I think a lot of people would love to get to university. Canada is becoming more and more as a hotbed for engineers. So what was your academic profile to get into University of Toronto?
So you mean my scorecard at
the scorecard, so to speak.
Okay, so since I was at DJ Sangvi, it's one of the known colleges in Mumbai University, and my grade point score was roughly 8.9, and I did my master's was a coursework based, so it's an MEng program, and yeah. So there are 2 options that are offered at the university, and it's common across all the universities in Canada. The MEng program, which is coursework based, and we have a thesis based program, which is more of research cum coursework fusion, and that's called the MASC. So the requirement varies based on the program itself, and MEng, since it's more of a degree or a coursework based package, it has slightly lower requirement on the academics, whereas the MASC overall focuses on the research and how connected you are with the professor pre-joining. So there are different sets of requirements, pros and cons for both these programs, and yeah, the academic requirements varies as well.
Suraj, but in terms, most students in your class, did they start with the MEng and then move to the thesis option, or was it 2 different tracks that you had to decide from day 1?
Both, a bit of both. So there are 2 different tracks that are predefined, and also some students find this luck. So they have the interest that they develop during the program itself. So me, for instance, I joined the program as the MNch field, but then I got an opportunity to work on a coursework based project. So that's like a something in between MASC and MH. So it takes up the ownership of three courses, and it's offered as an MH project. So you get to work with a supervisor, a senior professor, and get a hands-on experience with their PhD project. So this is an option as well, where you can switch to a project during your master's program. And also the other opportunity that you can get is, like you said, while doing your MH program, you build a rapport with a professor and get in touch with them for an ongoing project or a thesis research that they're doing, and get eventually shifted on to the research-based masters.
Great. All right. Before we get into understanding what you do exactly at TELUS, I just want to start off with your academic career, just a bit more about it. How was the experience at UR Toronto? And from a recruiting perspective, how difficult or easy was it to get jobs? And what do you see in today's market as you are the resident there at this point in time?
Yeah. So from my academic perspective, so my goal while leaving India for pursuing my master's was to strengthen my telecommunication skills, and I wanted to build a strong proficiency for myself in that particular domain, and that was my quest since beginning. And once I landed here, I made sure that since electrical and computer engineering is kind of a broad field, I had to narrow down on the course selection as to how I want to shape the master's program. So that's one thing I would like to indicate for all the students that are currently in their undergrad, is once you land here in Canada, it's slightly different as compared to the US. Is you're given a broad category of course catalog, and then you have the opportunity to pick and choose how you want to shape your master's rather than having a structured path that you're offered. So I made sure that my field is not diverged, or it's not diverted from what I want to do, and I picked the courses in accordance to that. So that was my way of picking the courses. So since I kind of stuck to the software defined networking or network virtualization courses, I built some connections with the professor, and luckily they also worked at the industry level in Canada, which helped me a lot in my job hunt process. And that's how I built my cover letter or my resume based on the experience and the connections I built, and eventually ended up getting at TELUS, which is like one of the core jobs for this field. So
did you apply to a lot of universities in terms of, did your peers also were they able to secure jobs relatively easily?
I would say yes. Many of my peers were either landing in one of the major telco service providers, or in a software company as a network consultant or a technical consultant dealing with the networks domain. So all my peers, my classmates in the courses did end up getting. So there were two tracks that they took. Either they went on to pursue a PhD, or they just landed a job in the core industry. So it was relatively easy.
So let me ask you a question. When we were discussing computer science trends and we were discussing mentors, they said a job is a job itself. To secure a job is a job itself. Do you agree with that statement?
Yes.
Or is it relatively easier in Canada?
I wouldn't say, like, with the process itself, I think yes, but retrospective right now, when I think things did fall in place relatively quickly for me. I might say it's a bit of luck and being at the right place at the right time, but I would say it, how you put up, I think that's the best way I can. It's a job in itself, and it depends on how early you get into the process, because for me, it was just about roughly 8 months before graduation. That's when I dug down actively looking for jobs. And I would say, more than applying, one thing I've noticed in Canada or anywhere, I think this is true for all over the world, is to get a job. I think more than the application, more than the whole process of applying for jobs, I think it's the contacts, or it's the connection that we built with either the professor or someone working in the company itself, that plays a huge role. And I think that does create an impact for you before even the application is seen. So I would say that is where the actual application process starts, where you start talking to people in the industry, or do the networking, which is commonly mentioned all these days, about how important networking plays in job hunt. And I think I've practically seen uh, the advantages of doing that. So yeah.
But Suraj, one of the things is, how do you network? I mean, one of the things that a lot of students say, and I've heard this many times: network, network, network.
Yeah.
But for someone who's coming from here, and you were obviously there for the first time there as well, how did you network? I mean, I think that's one of the things that a lot of students want to hear from you, and something that I've not asked earlier is, how do you network? What do you do to network?
Okay, so I think this is slightly different as compared to how it is in India. So in here, we have the concept of career fairs, where all the companies that are actively hiring come and drop into the universities and then showcase what they're hiring for. So this is not taken lightly by the university as well as by the people coming to recruit. So we have, so me, during my master's program, I used to actively look for all these career fairs. We have some organized by the university itself on campus, and some at the city level, where you have private companies organizing their own career fairs. So this is the best opportunity, because some of the companies like Nvidia, or even the core TELUS, for example, sends in their top level employees to communicate with the students. So that's where you take this opportunity to talk. Otherwise, it's really next to impossible to get even some time of theirs to interact with you. So this is one of the starting points where you can create I think an impression for yourself by just getting a minute, or describing yourself in a minute to them, and how they respond, or get a feedback. After talking, you can even ask, okay, I did this, do you think my presentation was good? I'm sure some of them won't take that time to respond to you, and some do. So there's no harm in trying that out. So yeah, that's one thing. And second is professors themselves. So most of the time, we just join course and just take it and then end it. But it's very important to build that reputation, or not reputation. I think it's just the communication with the professor, and that ease where you can approach them, talk to them, and through them you can also reach out to other people in the industry. So yeah, professors and networking at career fairs, I think that's the most approachable way, or ease of access, I would say, that students have in here.
Great. Okay, we're going to move into what you're currently doing at TELUS.
Yeah.
Just two questions. Okay. The first question is, this is related to academic before we move to career, is, do the students who submit the application by the first round have any advantage over other students? What is your view? What is the inclination that you've got from the school?
So for the university itself, you mean the first round of application? I think it's more like for U of T itself, I think it's more of a rolling process. So I do think that if you apply early or in the first round, there is a slight advantage, because the applications, on basis of what I have heard and experienced, they are reviewed on rolling basis. So the earlier it comes, the more sooner it gets reviewed. So I think you definitely stand an advantage, because that's the time period you gain by getting your application reviewed earlier than the others. So yeah. and I do think that there is an advantage. Not waiting till the deadline is, I think, definitely beneficial.
All right. Next question before now we're moving to career. Okay. Did lead code help you? Or what are the type of interviews they asked you at TELUS? Since you're moving to an ECE type of environment, what is the interview before we get into what you do there?
Okay, so
if you just
mine
walk us
was
through the entire process of how did you get recruited? What was it like?
So I applied or I interviewed at TELUS for a new grad program. So it's a thing that is very common in most of the major companies who look for students out of school. Is a program that they have structured. It's like a leadership come technical program. So the interview structure itself was very different. It was not super software intensive or lead code like you're saying. I did have some interviews which involved coding exercise or recorded coding sessions on how you approach things. But specifically at TELUS, it was very different. I just had to, so the initial round was a phone interview, just like an introduction session of what my background is, what I have done in my past, my educational and other co-curricular activities. So that just summed up what I am and what I am endorsing to them. And next was an interaction with one of the managers in the domain itself, not particularly the hiring manager. And then this was more of a technical conversation about my projects and what the team works on, and they see if I'm a fit. So it was more like a tool set and tech stack evaluation discussion. So even that was not super intensive, I would say. It was more of a 45-minute discussion on, I felt comfortable because the questions directed to me were more on what I have done or what I've been doing. Nothing surprised me or came out of the park. Right? It was a pretty decent level interview. And then I had a video presentation. So that's something which is I haven't seen that in other companies happening often, is they judge the overall leadership and the non-verbal communication skills as well. So I was given a topic and I had to create a 5-minute video and present to them, send them a clip for evaluation. So it was more like technical come leadership combined, and how I summarize things in 5 minutes and explain to layman, or how I can comprehend everything or explain things in a
what question did they
cohesive
ask
manner.
you here? What was the
Here,
question, if you remember?
Oh, that was
5-minute
related
video.
to new age technology trends. It was more telespecifics. They wanted to understand impacts of what these new technology evolution is doing on them. So it was just an opinion that they wanted to generate from the new students on what they have learned. So I think it was more of a benefit that TELUS could gain out of the different ideas they can get. So it was a creative interview. And the last round was an interview with an HR representative and director of the company. So that was more of like technical and business interview. So that was again a mix, I would say decent level, not intensive again.
Great.
So
great.
Yeah, it spanned out pretty, yeah, it was not very coding intensive or not how a typical interview was. It was very decent level, like judging more of the leadership qualities.
Great. Okay, let's move to your role. Okay.
Yeah.
You're working currently at TELUS. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you just describe your role in a little bit more detail and what you're currently doing, and to what extent are you using? I know you said DevOps, so it looks like a more of a software-based role, from what I understand, from what you're telling me. Is this something that you actually is it something that you had prior skill set in, or you developed the skill set as part of your curriculum at U of T?
Okay, so this role is I wouldn't classify it as a software role. it's more of a software-defined networking role. So that was what my major specialization was in U of T. So as you said, yes, I did develop the skill sets during my coursework at U of T, and everything I learned. So there's an interesting story or a coincidence, I would say. My professor, I had a couple of professors during the master's program, and both of them interestingly worked at TELUS. So they used to share their daily uh, workflow or what they are building, not to the level that it might impact the privacy, but just on a higher level on what they're doing and where the industry stands with respect to telecom itself, and brought that as a course, packaged it as a nice structured course. And that's where I learned all the software defined networking and virtualization principles. And when I joined TELUS, my first team, it was a core network engineering team. I was mainly involved in troubleshooting night changes, working late at night just to avoid traffic mishaps and everything. So that was a very interesting team, loaded with responsibilities. I learned it the hard way, and then moved on to this team, which is more of a platform management team. So what we do basically as part of this team is build a container orchestration platform. It's called OpenShift. Uh, I'm sure many of the students here might have heard or even used this tool before. So it's offered by Red Hat, and it's mainly based on Kubernetes. Kubernetes is cloud native functions, Google adaptation of a container orchestration platform. So what we do is build an automated pipeline, create playbooks, continuous integration, continuous deployment of these pipeline, and package them as a service to internal teams or even external teams like Ericsson and stuff. So we offer containers as a service. Our team is called CAS, container as a service, and offer this to internal as well as external teams. So that's what my role is. I work mainly in the platform development, and my duties involve automation building, using Ansible for creating these automated deployments and stuff. So yes, I did learn my these relevant skills during my coursework, and my professors working here highly helped that in knowing the industry requirements right in advance.
But is that, let me ask you a broader question then. Do you think that U of T, a lot of professors were like that, where they were working in the industry and they brought industry experience to the curriculum?
I don't think so. I think it's only specifically for the telecommunication, where we had this adjunct professor who worked both in the industry and then spent part time at the university. So I think that helped me a lot, but I don't think that essentially is the case for all the domains. Say, for example, electronics. I think no, all of the professors are full time, and they do spend all their research and time at the university itself. But this trend I've only, because since I have my friends who did their graduation at different fields, I've not heard this from them about a professor working in the industry actively as well. So this is more, I think, a specific thing that I've observed here.
Great, great, great. Okay, I have a few more questions for you. Okay, I know we're running against time. Okay, with respect to, there's a question that was asked with respect to internships. Did you start looking for internships immediately when you landed, or was it something that you actually, did you get an internship? Did you actually look for an internship? Did you work doing while you were studying? Did you get a TA or RA, etc.?
Yeah, so internship, it wasn't directly like an internship. So what I did was, like I said before, it was so one of my courses, as I started on during the initial stages, it was called Service Provider Networks, and that's where I learned about all the trends, or what are the new gen requirements for operating a service providers network. And this interested me, so I just approached the professor and got in touch with what he's researching on, and that was created. So it was tailor-made as a project. It's called MN's project, and I got the opportunity to work with him and on his research, and it was like portion of that was devised for me as a minor research, I would say. So that's the internship or the summer time I spent with. So it wasn't really an internship, but it was like an internal course that was created. But with respect to TAs and RAs, it's slightly difficult at the University of Toronto. Getting a teaching assistantship or research assistantship is even rare. TAs are still, you have annual or even semester based enrollments if you want to register yourself for the TA program, and you get contacted by the professors themselves. But yeah, with respect to the opportunities or chances of getting, I think it's slightly difficult as compared to the US on how I've observed. This is my observation based on the conversations I've had, but yeah.
Great. The next question, and perhaps something that you can shed light on, is PR. Obviously, Canada, one of the reasons why people choose Canada is to get the PR. Okay. What is the process? How difficult is it having completed a master's there? Have you already secured a PR, and what is the process going forward from your perspective?
Yeah, I do have my PR as of now, and yes, it is a very streamlined and structured process with very little hassle with respect to logistics, I would say, but requires a lot of patience because it is a slow process and everything is online. And since I have my master's degree, like you said, and a year's work, like 1 year's work experience is what it matters with respect to max out the points that are required for obtaining the PR. And anyone with a master's degree and an active job, I think, makes it. And it's very, it's almost a guarantee of getting a PR. There are certain exceptions, but this is what the actual trend or the stats say is once you have your master's and you're actively working with a year's experience, you do get your PR. It's just a lot of patience that needs to go in with respect to the process itself. It takes about 6 months since the date you apply to get your confirmation, and then for the actual PR card, it takes more couple of months. So it's just a year that can be kept aside for the whole process to get completed. But with respect to the strike rate or chance of getting it, it's almost 100%.
Great. Last question. I know we've got 3 minutes to go. A question that was asked, 2 questions that came up with respect to PR. Have you seen any of your peers who have completed the MS in US and have experience in the US applying for a Canadian PR as well?
I'm like some of my colleagues in the organization at TELUS itself and my team have done that. So they did work, or so that was like a very zigzag path they took. They came here, went to US for work, and then applied for PR, and then came back to Canada. But I have seen people who have graduated from a master's program in the US. After work experience, they do apply for PR and eventually land up here, because you do rake up eventual like essential number of points as it would be needed for a local person who graduated out of school in Canada. So I think it's the exact equivalent. I might be slightly wrong in the in this, but yeah, you do have equivalent amount of points if you graduate from US, but it's just that the program which you apply is different, and the number of frequency of the rounds of draw is slightly lesser as compared to local. So that's the only catch, but otherwise it's pretty much the same with respect to how you get the points.
Great. The next question, I've got two more questions, and that's about it because we're running against time. Uh, is the first question is there a minimum income level you need for PR?
Uh,
Or
no, I don't. As far as I know, there is no minimum income requirement. Uh, yeah, it's just that for obtaining the PR itself, they require certain amount of uh, like certain amount in the bank statement. So that's the only criteria. Except that, there's no minimum income.
okay, and the last question is, as you are in software-defined networks, the question came about how different would it be if you took ECE was taking computer science? And specifically, how different is it to take up electrical and computer engineering and then landing up a software job, which is a quasi-software job? I wouldn't say it's a software job exclusively,
Yeah.
as opposed to taking up computer science in your master's.
I think, okay, that's a very interesting question because if you do a master's in computer science, the quality or the level of courses that you would experience is definitely higher. It's core software, computer science, and the amount of skill sets or amount of skills that you will be developing as part of this process is immensely high. But if you end up getting into the electrical and computer engineering, there's a computer engineering specialization as well, which most of the people do, and there are a lot of software engineering courses or data analytics courses which people pursue, and then eventually, if paths cross, I think people might even end up getting the same role at the same company through both these fields. So it definitely is an option, but learning wise, from academics perspective, computer science is a level above as compared to ECE and then software engineering through that.
Okay, great. But in terms of job opportunities, did you have computer science programmers also as part of your thing, part of your team, or is it mostly ECE people?
In my current team,
yeah.
So since it's more of networks, there are only either core network specialists or some of them are software engineers and some computer science graduates as well. We have some co-ops. So it's a mix of everything in my current team.
Okay, perfect. Last question. Okay. Two questions. Any parting thoughts that you have to the student community? That's one. And the more important, there's a question that just came up, was the job opportunities for an ECE in Canada. They all, computer science, everyone says that they have everything, but what about ECE in general? Do they have enough jobs in Canada as well for ECE?
Yeah,
and then your parting thoughts.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll start off with the job opportunities for ECE. So since ECE is such a broad domain, it includes electronics, it includes electrical engineering, it includes computer engineering. I think all of these, especially electronics, I would put emphasis on, is very high demand in Canada, and it does have a lot of job openings throughout across all the fields that I just listed out. And it's just that in knowing what you really want to do and then finding out that exact title that you're looking for plays the major role. So once you discover yourself what you want to do, I think job hunt becomes much more easy rather than looking for everything and then applying for all the possible jobs and then settling for whatever comes in. I would say just deciding on what you want to do and finding that phrase or search phrase, I would say, the keyword that you exactly need on LinkedIn or any of the job applying portals. Once you've hit that, I think the opportunities are there. It's just waiting to be grabbed. So it's true for everything in the electrical and computer engineering field. So yeah, that's the overall job prospect. And about parting thoughts, I think what I would say is, like I said, just as you land in Canada or masters or anywhere in the world for your graduation, I think communication with professors play a key role. Just keep in touch with them, try to seek their advice for whatever is possible, and then yeah, do what you think is right and find your best possible path after coming here. I think there's no need to rush about anything, no need to feel the pressure of narrowing down on a career path early. You can even decide it here. There are lots of opportunities, and even during the course itself, there is multiple chances to switch fields and try out different courses. So yeah, just use the master's program as efficiently as possible and enjoy the whole program. That's it. That's my parting thoughts.
Thank you, Suraj. Suraj, one last question. Why did you choose Canada over US? I think
Uh,
a lot of people are debating between Canada and US, Canada and US. They want to be on the Western Hemisphere.
mhm.
And they're just trying to debate between the two, which program to go for.
Yeah, so this is, I think like while I was applying to the universities, U of T was only Canadian university. And as soon as I got the admit from University of Toronto, I dropped the idea. Until then, I had this plan of going into the US as well. But as soon as this happened, I dropped it. And this was kind of a dream university I wanted to enter in. And I felt the real need of pursuing the program because I had looked at the course structure, the professors of offering it, and overall it seemed very attractive for the domain I wished to pursue in, and that's the only reason why I chose Canada over US. Just the university itself and the choice of professor and the city itself. I would love. I don't like regret the choice. It's a beautiful city, and yeah, that was this as a combination made me pick Canada over US.
It wasn't for the PR or anything like that, or was there those factors played an important
No, I
role in
hadn't
terms of?
really thought about the longer term back when I was just planning on to move to Canada. I really didn't have a clear-cut plan about how long I would end up stay or what's my longer term planning. It was just about master and couple of years. So based on that, I made my decision and then uh, chose Canada. So it was not really PR to be honest, but it did turn out to be easier. But yeah, that wasn't my thought or food for thought in my decision making.
Okay, and let me, since we have some time, and G, we're still waiting for Jean to join us.
Mhm.
Uh, uh, what is the lifestyle or what's the work-life balance in Canada? And is Canada still shut for? I mean, what is happening in COVID right now in Canada? I mean, is it an open? Is it open, or is everyone working from home? How is the
Yeah,
system in place, etc.?
people are still working from home. None of the offices have opened up yet, and that has promoted this remote work positions throughout Canada, and which is also increasing the employment, I would say, since the office space or use of real estate has dropped. The creation of new job openings have increased because it's very feasible for the companies to just employ people and ask them to work from home. So yes, so that also adds on to the job opportunities. But as of now, none of the offices have opened. Everything is remote. And with respect to work-life balance, I think it depends very much on the. Uh, so initially, I had this opinion that it depends on the company itself and the principles of the company on how the work-life balance is. But recently, I've also figured out that it more than the company itself, it depends on the team and core of the work culture that your team has. So I would narrow it down to the team itself on how your work-life balance can shape up. And luckily, my current team is very friendly and they have a superb work culture and work atmosphere, promoting, encouraging each other, and having that uh, teaching learning relationship. So yeah, I do have a good, I would rate highly for my work life balance as of now, and I think it really depends on the team and the manager, I would say. So yeah, it
When
starts
you
from there.
say rate highly, is it that you work only 5 days a week, etc.? How does it?
Yeah, I never felt the need to work beyond the work hours. So it's just that if I do, it's because of my keen learning, or I just want to spend time on something to develop myself. But work never forces me to go extra for delivering something or getting something done. So that I would say is uh, very impactful, and even in terms of mental health, or when you're locked down during COVID, I think that not using that extra time since you're just home, I think many companies tend to do that since you're at home, why not just get this done as well? I've heard that even in Canada it happens. But luckily, my team does have a sharp endpoint. After a certain point, no one talks, like no one reaches out with work-related requests, and that really adds up. And the other thing is, I have a work phone, so I can just separate my work and my personal. I hate having those notifications on the phone, so I just leave it here, leave it on the desk, and don't bother about it after a work hour. So
So they don't
that
expect you
helps
to
as
pick
well.
it up. They don't expect you
No,
to pick up
not at
phones or
all.
anything like that.
Not at all.
Is that a TELUS culture? Is that your department culture? Or is
I
that
think
generally in Toronto or generally in Canada?
I think this more, I would say, is a TELUS culture, is having encouraging to separate personal life from work is overall encouraged by most 99% of the teams at TELUS. But yeah, some software teams do get intense, and it's there. But barring those exceptions, I think it's overall a TELUS thing to have a good work-life balance.
Great, great. Okay, coming to another question that came up is what is the diversity of your class at U of T? How many Indians or how many South people from Southeast Asia were
Mhm.
there? And were there a lot of Canadians as well going to the program, or were they basically all international students?
For masters, I think diversity wise, I would say 90% from Southeast Asia, and
90%.
90. 90, I'm being generous. I think I can go
Wow.
higher. Yeah. And specifically my field, I think the course, the thing I liked really is the course attendance. It was like, I just had 10 classmates for some of the courses, and some like just five. So I had that really good. I think it changed over the period now, but I had the luck. I would say it was um, a very advantageous thing
Personalized.
to, yeah, personalized coaching actually, because some of the courses were like having four people in a course. I think it never happens, but that semester I think I was just lucky. And but overall, the other courses where there were people, a high amount of people, I think it was mostly from Southeast Asia and other internationals as well. And speaking of local Canadians, I think uh, mostly here there is a trend for locals not to pursue masters. So they just, since they go through a 5 years undergrad program with co-ops and multiple co-ops and internships, they don't feel the need to pursue a master's program. So here, and that's the reason why masters is valued really highly as well, because since locals never do it, it's rare for Canadians to encounter someone who's doing masters, or it's valued really high because they rule that out as a possibility for themselves. They just think undergrad, this is a generic trend throughout Canada, is undergrad education, and then I'm done because I have enough experience, I have the coursework, and they think masters is like an overhead. So that's the reason why Canadians are not so seen. They're not visible during in the masters programs. It's more of an international thing. Uh, yeah, that's the trend I have seen and observed.
But tell us, were
Mhm.
there in your group and vis-a-vis the entire office complex, the office
Mhm.
that you were, your floor or
Mhm.
the department that you're in, are
Mhm.
they basically international people, international from the international community, or were they Canadians?
It's a mix. There we have Canadians as well. There are a lot of, it's a mix. There we really have a good balance. And even I think most of the employers have diversity in mind as well, even while hiring. Teams focus on having a good mix of cultures, good mix of people in their team. So I've seen this at TELUS as well. It promotes a lot of diverse employment and get in a mix of everything. So yeah, overall at TELUS, I've seen a mix of everyone, a lot of Canadians, a lot of, since it's throughout Canada, there are lots of people, especially in the West Coast, we have a lot of Canadians as well. East Coast is a bit of international dominant, but overall it's a good balance.
Okay, the when you say, let me ask this, because you said since Canadians were not at the same levels, Canadians always usually went through the undergraduate program.
Yeah.
Were you placed differently in terms of job position, job title, and everything?
That depends. So yes, there is for master's graduate, since it is regarded as work experience as well in certain companies, certain recruiters, or during the recruitment process, some companies treat this as work experience, industry experience, since you're in a professional graduation program. So yes, you do get placed at a slightly higher level as compared to undergrads, but it varies with company. At some places where there are new graduate programs, it's more or less the same level. Pay might vary, but other than that, because of the master's experience, it does put up a level higher.
Okay, got it. So let me ask you a question, and maybe you can answer some of these questions. Outside of the electrical and computer engineering industry, how are the placements, for example, in supply chain and any other field that your peers would be at? Do you happen to comment on that in Canada?
Supply chain, I'm not very sure, but with respect to my peers or my friend circle or my close contacts, I think all of the graduates ended up getting a job within like 4 or 5 months of graduation. That's max I have seen. So it just takes that period of time to find a core job. There have been students or people who have sacrificed their core industry, say mechanical, for example. For mechanical engineering is one of the fields that I have noticed in Canada with a relatively lower core job opening. So people tend to sacrifice their passion for an opening in software or data analytics, or so they just end up going into that particular field. But overall, people do stick to their core and end up finding a job in that field. So 4 months, as I said, max.
So that brings up a very important point. One of the things in US is when you apply for an H-1B, you have to apply for a job within the specific field that you actually studied in. So if you're doing computer science, you have to look for a computer science job. If you're doing finance, you have to look for a financial job. You cannot go into a totally different field because you won't get the employment. Correct. Is that true for Canada, or Canada you can look for any job whatsoever as long as you get a job? And and do they allow 4 months window for students to look for a job? I believe it's over a year. I think they give a year at least, right?
Yeah. There's no such limit, because nowadays, so there is a concept of open work permit, which entitles you to apply to any possible job opening. So there is no restriction on the field as to mapping of graduation degree versus job employment. So it's just completely different. You have a open thought with respect to where you want to apply or what you want to end up getting in. So yeah, it's pretty much wide open. There's no restriction like in the US. And even in the number of days, once you get the work permit, you're entitled to apply to work permit immediately after completing your degree requirements. So you get the work permit, and once you have the work permit, you have until the duration of work permit to secure a job. So it's not really too tight. Usually people get either 1 year of work permit or 3 years, depending on how long the master's program lasts. So if it's a 3 years, then you have up to 3 years to secure a job. So the only catch is until you get the job, you have to fund yourself for the stay. But aside of that, I think there is no legal thing that would force you out until you get a job. So it's just you can take your time with it.
Yeah, but there is a minimum, there's a maximum you can work till you get a PR, right? In terms of if you go for a 2-year degree, you can work only for 3 years till you apply. In that period, you can apply for a PR card. Am I correct?
No. So as soon as you get a job, even once you end up getting a job, the minimum or the ideal prerequisite for getting a PR is 1 year of work experience. That's it. So once you hit that 1 year of work you make yourself comfortably well placed in the pool of PR applications, and that really doesn't or doesn't have a relation to how, like, even I have noticed people directly applying for PR even without experience. So there's something called provincial nominee program as well. So where you, without having any job experience, just fresh out of school, can go ahead and apply for a permanent resident application. So
Is that as successful?
it's just longer. Some provinces have longer wait times. It takes up to 2 years in some provinces. But the success rate, I think it might be slightly lesser, but it is considerably successful for a student graduating from a decent university.
Okay, we got 2 last questions in terms of doing it. The first question is, would you prefer a high-ranked university in isolated location or a low-ranked university at a place like California? What was your decision? What would you say?
I think if I were to choose, I think I would choose a low-ranked university in California. I think primarily because you have access to a lot of resources in a place like California. Be it the starting from the job openings itself, just because of location, I think you hit that opportunities, the pool of opportunities that you have in a city like California, the people that you can encounter, just overhearing conversations that can go through and make you intellectual in a bit. I think for that purpose itself, I think I would prefer location over ranking of university, because yeah, that's the thing I have learned and experienced is in once you start with your master's program, I think it depends on who or how you are as a person, or how intense or how much you want to extract knowledge from a professor, rather than trying to force the professor to teach well. So it's just the other way around. Now you have to take the initiative to extract information from the professor rather than expecting to be spoon-fed. So it really doesn't matter the quality of the university, I would say, but talking and extracting that value from the professor, I think that's where, yeah, I think I may have said this multiple times. I think that's how much I can emphasize communication with the people who you get taught from. So yeah.
Great. Suresh, thank you very much. I know
No
I took
problem.
50 minutes of your time, and I apologize
totally
for that, but thank you very much. I think I definitely helped the student community, and because it's on YouTube as well, helped the student community actually understand more about the Canadian process, as well as U of T and what opportunities are there in Canada. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. It was a pleasure, and glad to be reconnected with you as well. And I
Definitely,
wish
Suraj.
all the students best of luck in whatever they wish to pursue. And if you need anything, or if you want to get to know about more regarding what I do, what interests you, just feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'll be open for a chat.
Thank you, Suraj.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jill Machita. And Jill, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. First of all, I'm really sorry. I'm in California right now and
Oh, my
I woke up
apologies.
late. I'm so sorry for joining late, first of all. But I really tried putting like several alarms, but a Saturday waking up at 6 is a little difficult. Sorry.
No problem. My apologies. My apologies. I
No
didn't realize
problem.
that. Okay.
Oh, that's completely fine.
Okay. So Jill
Yeah.
is going to be talking to us about supply chain, okay, and operations management. And similar to, it's somewhat different, but it's also related. We have Yashil, who's going to talk about a career beyond just coding, okay, where he's going to talk more about the business side of the technology field. Yashil, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Suraj sir. How are you doing?
Good, good, good. I hope I didn't wake you up from California too.
No, I'm actually on the East Coast in Boston, but yes, you did wake me up on a Saturday morning, sorry.
That means that's how early it is for you.
Yeah.
It's great to have both of you guys here. Okay. Let me start off by asking each one of you guys to introduce yourselves, and then we'll try to go ahead and ask the questions that we have. With Tanya, are you there too?
Yes, I'm here. Hi.
Great, Tanya. It's great to see you after a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Great. We have three people. Okay, so I want to keep this as general in terms of the so-called type of work that you guys do. I would like each of one of you guys to introduce yourself. So, Jill, can you start, please?
Yeah, so I did my master's in engineering management, industrial engineering in Northeastern University from Boston. And after that, I moved to California a couple of months ago for my work. For my work, I'm working currently at Lucid Motors in supply chain, and I'm mostly working with sourcing and procurement. But I'm working for a startup, so you're kind of doing everything. But yeah, I took mostly supply chain courses, and I didn't know I wanted to do supply chain, but somehow I am in supply chain. Yeah.
We are going to get to learn about why you chose supply chain a bit later.
Sure.
But let's start with Yashil. Go ahead, Yashil.
Yeah, so hi, my name's Yashil, and I recently graduated from the Kelly School of Business at IU with a master's in information systems. I started my undergrad as an IT engineer, but I realized that my core skill set was communication and problem solving. So that's why I pivoted to a more techno-functional program. So while I was at Kelly, I learned a bunch about what it means to be in the tech consulting industry. I got to apply all those skills as part of my two internships. One of them was with LabCorp, which helped develop all the COVID vaccines that you're seeing out there. And second one was with Splunk, which is a really good cybersecurity company right now. And I recently started my role at Slalom Consulting, and I'm really looking forward to interacting with all the students here.
Great, great. Tanya.
Yeah, hi. My name is Tanya Gupta. I also did my undergrad in computer engineering from Tharumarshani Engineering College in Mumbai. And similarly, Ashil, I realized that I didn't really want to be a software developer. I wanted to do something that was at the intersection of business and technology, which I know is very cliche, but that's what I wanted to do. And that's why I chose to do my master's in information systems from the Kerry School of Business. And I interned at Anthem, which is one of the biggest health insurance firms in the US. And currently, I'm also working at Slalom Consulting as a tech consultant, specifically with AWS. So, yeah.
Great. So coming back to Jill, more importantly, Jill, why you mentioned something very interesting to me, and I just it's ringing in my ears. Supply chain. You just fell into supply chain. What was the whole idea
Yeah.
of supply chain?
So, I'm being very honest, back in India, supply chain is not something that we specifically focus on. There are no specific designate, especially except for the first top few firms. No one really bothers giving specific designated roles to supply chain people. It's now growing and now given more recognition. But I had done a few internships in operations, and like these guys said, well into my engineering, I realized, okay, I like engineering, I like science as a whole, but I don't think I can spend my entire life just sitting in front of a computer. And I wanted to do something where I can use my business skills, but at the same time stay true to my engineering roots. That's why I took engineering management, and that time I wanted to do data. To be very honest, I came in thinking I'll go for data engineering or data science uh, courses, but when I came here, I realized the entire field of, and uh, fortunately for me, when I came, COVID had just hit, and supply chain just came at the forefront of the entire world that, oh, supply chain really can make and break a particular industry. And we realize, yes, this is something that I can do. I can communicate well. I can manage things well, and at the same time I can use my data skills and I'm one of the few supply chain people at my company where who uses data for like absolutely everything. And not many people who are in supply chain learn a lot of software skills. So I just thought, okay, I can use the best of both worlds and use my engineering and data skills for supply chain and combine those two and do something in supply chain.
Great. Question for you, a follow-up question to you. What
Yeah.
do you do as a purchase associate
So,
at Lucid Motors? I want to know which, the
and
other question, interesting, Lucid or Tesla? What do you think? Obviously, you're going to say Lucid, right?
100%. And I have reasons. And it's I know it's not out yet, so it's something that I am just shooting a bow in the dark, an arrow in the dark. But I have seen the car. I've sat in the car. I see the production happening right in front of me. I work actually. I know I not just work for Lucid. I work my main project when I started out at Lucid was mainly Formula E. We make the Formula E battery packs and Formula E powertrains. And we just completed the power battery packs yesterday, and I'll be seeing it going away, shipping in front of me on Monday. So that's very exciting. It's our background mainly comes from Formula E, so the amount of horsepower that we provide or the efficiency that we provide will be a lot more, and we have a lot of emphasis on interiors. The interiors are fabulous. Okay, now I'll just coming back to it, supply chain. I am the title in a company like Lucid makes zero sense. When you're working for a startup, all of us know that you cannot work as just one thing. When you're in purchasing, the normal job profile looks like you go, the suppliers are already sourced for you. You work with these suppliers, negotiate with suppliers, and ensure and have a forecast ready for yourself for the next coming demand. And according to that demand, you just place the purchase orders, ensure that the parts are here. But when you're working in a company like Lucid, you are sort of program managing supply chain. So right now, I am doing everything from budgeting to negotiating with the supplier to reaching out to new suppliers, sourcing new suppliers. And if someone wants to understand supply chain better, they need to understand sourcing and procurement as two different things. If anyone is interested, just go and look at books where you understand what sourcing looks like, what procuring looks like. And I am sort of program managing the supply chain right now for the Formula E as well as I'm starting to work on their SUV projects, which hasn't even come out in public yet.
Can you suggest a few books?
I can send a few links.
Please do.
I don't remember. Yeah, I don't
Just
remember. At
if
the
you can
top
just
of
put in
my
the
head.
chat, if you just can put in chat as you look through it,
Yes.
that'll be great. Great.
Yes, I can do that.
Yashil, as she said, that my job is all over the place, and that's what keeps her excited to this whole process. Okay, what about your job as a technology consultant at Slalom? How would you describe it?
Yeah, for sure. First of all, I think Jill has an amazing job. I would love to be a Formula E driver. Yeah. So, but yeah, as you mentioned, my job is something that is beyond coding, right? It involves a part of coding, but it is also much more than that. It is a job where I have to utilize my people skills because I'm interacting with clients day in, day out. I have to utilize my analytical skills to go through all the data that we have and also use my technology skills to deploy all the stuff on AWS. So I would say it's a bit like being Sherlock Holmes, where you listen to the client's problems, you look at the hints, and you try to find out what the solution is. So yeah, it involves a lot of communication, a lot of understanding of business problems, applying your critical thinking, and finally solving it with technology.
Give me a use case.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
just give me a use case of, I mean, you mentioned everything, and for the benefit of the student community, if you can just give me a use case of what specifically that you would work on, that'd be great.
Yeah, for sure. So I kept my answer a bit ambiguous because that is how tech consulting is. You have to pivot your skills suddenly. But I will give you an example. So most large insurance companies have a lot of legacy applications that they built on, let's say Java 1.5 or something like that.
Okay.
And they want to move to a more modern platform. It is not as simple as just, okay, let's just take the application and modernify it. It's all about developing a game plan for hiring the right talent to do that, managing the whole project from end to end, and performing a deep technical dive with those customers. So I hope that gives a little more clarity.
So if I had to put it in simple words or try to put it in a structured, just trying to simplify it, you guys act as a bridge between do you guys act as the bridge between the technology and the business people, or
yes,
are you the architects of the entire system, or both?
Both, I would say, but more on the bridge section. We work with the architects to make sure that they're going in the right direction, if that makes sense. Got
it. And Tanya, you're also working in the same company. Is your role similar to his?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same role.
Okay. Now, let me ask you a question. This is something that everyone asks, that, when they look at computer science, they look at MIS. Why did you choose? I know we were deliberating between the two. Okay. And why did you choose computer science, and what did you, obviously you're happy with what you're currently doing. There's no doubt about it. But what would you tell the student community when they are at the same dilemma as you were 3 years ago?
Yeah, so for me, I was very inclined towards computer science as well. But for me, what I wanted was, I did not want to just be coding. I feel like that was at the forefront of my mind when I was making that decision, that I wanted to be a part of like the business side. I wanted to be able to talk to people and be able to manage things. And I did not want to just code. And not to say that coding is bad, like some people enjoy it. It just wasn't my thing. And that was the biggest reason why I moved towards MIS and not CS. And then um, another thing that I think is important to consider when you're making that decision is that if you do CS, there are more jobs, and there's more competition, but there's also more jobs. So it's not very difficult to find like a software engineer job. If you do something like MIS, it could get a bit challenging because it's not that technical. I mean, it is technical, but it's not as technical as a CS degree. And in the US, especially for international students, companies hire a lot for more technical roles. So that is something that you sort of have to prepare yourself mentally. You cannot compare yourself with your friends who go to CS and compare their job salary packages and their sort of opportunities and the companies they have access to. So that's something that I would definitely, looking back, would have considered. But I still would have chosen MIS because I like what I'm doing now. I like that I'm not um, coding. I mean, I am coding, but I'm not just coding. I like that I'm actually making, like, I'm looking at business strategy. I'm looking at IT strategy, trying to find like a good solution and solving problems. Yeah, that's why I decided to go for MIS.
What do you guys both mean by coding? I mean, one of the things that people have, students have, is a fear of the whole idea of coding, as I suppose, so to speak. And I think Jill is
Right.
smiling away. Okay, they want to stay away as far away from technology as perspective, especially the coding, the syntax. So you both
Right.
mentioned that you guys are talking about coding, that we do coding, and you do data analysis. All three of you guys say we do data analysis, but what type of data analysis are you guys doing?
Right. So the difference is, like, basically when you do like data analysis, right? It's like using Python or R or Tableau or something like that to find. The purpose of the coding is to get insights. The purpose of the coding is not to code and build something. So for example, friends who I have who are doing CS, they are actually learning to code in like Java and even Python, but different application of Python, right? And they're learning to build things, build software, build, like, for example, I have a friend who works in Oracle. She's like building the services that you use in the Oracle cloud, or people in AWS are actually coding the back end of the AWS services. So that, I guess, is the difference for me. Like, I did not want to be doing that kind of coding where I'm just like building something using Java or something. And data analysis is, coding is a very small part of data analysis. There's a lot more to it than just coding. I hope that kind of makes the difference clear.
So Yashil, what's more to it in data analysis? I want to come to the same question with Jill. Okay, what is beyond just coding in data analysis?
Can you clarify that question a little bit? What do you mean by what is there in coding apart from data analytics?
How do you use coding for data analysis, and what is data analysis?
Okay, yeah, for sure. Okay, yeah. So I can give you my own example. So at Splunk, the thing was they were trying to sell a lot of cloud products and they had a lot of data and they wanted to understand which customers were giving them the most amount of revenue, which sales reps were selling the most amount of cloud. So basically, it was my data to speak with, it was my job to speak with everybody and understand what the data sources are, then write some code in Splunk's own language to pull that data, clean it up, and finally use that code to present it as dashboard. So understanding what the business strategy is like that was all about, using code to go to business insights. That is what data analysis is all about in a nutshell. But of course, there are much more sophisticated versions where you can use ML and AI to do a lot more sophisticated stuff.
Did you have to use ML and AI?
A little bit, not much.
Okay. Jill, I know you mentioned. Go ahead, Tanya.
Just wanted to add one thing. So the difference is when we use ML and AI, we use like the ready-made packages in Python or anything. We don't actually code the algorithm. We don't create that. We just use something that's there.
Got it. And Jill, I want to hear your insight because you mentioned a lot about analytics and data at Lucid and as a startup environment. What did you do? And I think Yashil and both Tanya are also interested in finding out.
No, so like these guys mentioned, we use the software that's already created. We are not going around in circles trying to bug and debug a code just to create a software. So we are just getting things on the platter and we are using the software. So their job is a lot more difficult when it comes to CS people. And I absolutely admire them for doing that. It's just that I cannot do it. I cannot go in bounds again and again just to debug and bug a code to get the final product. And like they mentioned, we when we use for Lucid, it's more like since we don't have a lot of sales data, we have to rely a lot on uh, the past EV data, and the EV history is not that much. So it's not like we can go back in history too much. It's just 10 years of data that we have, which is a lot less in comparison to any other industries around. But my main task for using, so I usually go using I usually either use R, or I use Tableau. Mostly Tableau is just very convenient to use. So it mostly to understand what our demand would look like about in making a car. You have to use, there are like 1,000 parts that go inside just one car. It seems like, oh, these are the only 4 parts that are going. But from small, especially, for example, right now there is a chip shortage around the world.
Yeah.
Any chip part you want to buy, it takes 46 weeks lead time.
What?
Which is insane. Yes.
46 weeks.
Yes.
So this chip shortage will continue for the next 1 year, looks the way you're talking about it.
So it all goes on the back order. Even if you get those chips, there are people who've ordered before 46 weeks who would get before you. So my whole thing is you have to understand if the demand is going to go down, what is the issue with the chip shortage, and then go to the supplier and give them a plan. Okay, we can work with, it's mostly how can you work with the supplier and support them. You cannot just say, I'm paying you money, you help me out. That's not how it works. If you start working that way, the supplier is going to just go off, and he's like, the other day we literally had a supplier say, you guys need to set your priorities straight. You cannot ask us to uh, support you with Lucid Air, that's a Sudan project, and Formula E, and then also ask us to give both of that on the same time and at same quantities that you require, when you know there is a chip shortage around the world. And he literally cut off the phone. And in situations like this, I had to sit back, understand their production schedules, understand how many people they work with, understand what their demand. It's not just my demand that I had to look at that time. I had to sit and understand what his approximate demand would be, and how he would be dealing with it, and how the chip shortage is affecting his demands. That's where data comes in play. If you don't know data, you will be very lost in just looking at numbers here. But if you know a few data skills, it would help you analyze the situation better. If you don't know the problem, you'll not be able to solve it. So understanding the problem is the first place. Data helps you understand the problem a lot better and with a lot more clarity than just looking at a theoretical situation. So that's where I use data mostly for, to just understand a problem and then use those analytical skills to understand how I can solve them and how I can help not just my company but their company, so that I can push this project forward. Because you cannot just demand them to help you, and it's all on relationships. If you cannot maintain relationships in supply chain, you are doomed. That's what you have to understand in supply chain. If you don't know how to be patient, don't enter into supply chain. It tests your patience every single day. And one more thing I just want to add on what Tanya said: don't take computer science just because they have a lot of jobs. I understand that they have a lot of jobs, and when you're coming in a foreign land, you want a job, and that's very exciting and very tempting. But you also have to understand, you have to work in this place, in this business for at least the next 5-7 years or foreseeable future. And if you don't love doing it, people who love doing coding and love software just go for it. Don't even think. But if you don't love, like I knew for a fact that I wouldn't be happy in it. I much rather struggle in the start of my career to find a job than struggle at the job and not like it. Like I'm going to work today. It's a Saturday and I'm not sad about it. So if you love your job, if you enjoy it, you would be happy. And even though money, I would have made a lot more money if I had taken any software courses or any computer science courses. But that's not what I want to do. I would rather earn a little less or work in a place which I have gotten after a lot of struggle than to get a job easily and not like it. So do what you like. It might take a while, but you'll get there.
Okay, so one question that I want to bring up, and this is an important question. A question that often asked by students, okay, and who are looking, prospective students looking at either supply chain or looking at tech consulting, is a skill set that they should have prior to coming on board there. Is there any specific softwares that you all three suggest that one should actually, or the skill set one should develop prior to jumping into the respective fields?
I could just suggest, if you haven't learned already and you have to join this fall, it's much
No, coming
rather
fall.
start.
It'll be fall 22.
Yeah, just I think that's what I understood. First of all, master your Excel. I don't think a lot of people in India understand what Excel is. We are not looking at Excel as the way Excel is. It has a lot more than you think. So master Excel if you don't know, because here you wouldn't get the chance to master Excel. But if you have mastered Excel, I would say Python and R are a safe bet for anything you are doing. Yeah, if it is business related.
You dropped. Jill, you are on mute. Jill, you're on mute right now.
Receiving another call, so that's why.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
Tanya and Yashil, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think I agree with Jill, and I would say that master Excel for sure. But I did not know anything about Excel before coming to the US, and luckily Kelly School of Business had an amazing course in Excel, so I got to learn. And I would say it's not as boring as it seems. It's super interesting, and you have to apply a lot of your, problem solving skills to actually master Excel. So yeah, definitely pick that up. Also, I would say learn Tableau. It is a tool that is used in almost every company. And Jimmy sir had suggested me before going to the US to do that, but I did not. I wish I would have taken his advice and done that. So yeah, that's an important one. And when it comes to these non-coding careers, I would say your software skills and soft skills are both important. So also focus on your soft skills, learn how to present, learn how to speak in an interesting manner or just clearly. So yeah, that those two go hand in hand, and focus on both of them rather than just the software skills.
Tanya.
Yeah, I think with respect to skills, I think Jill and Yashil covered most of it. I just wanted to add that I know that most people who will be applying now are either students or working. So, we mentioned like Python, R, Tableau, Excel. That's like four really big things. So don't feel like you have to be some sort of expert in all of these before you come to the US. You do get 1 year or 2 years, depending on which program you choose, in the US as well. And if you choose like an MIS kind of degree, you will have courses in Python or R, or you will learn Tableau. So try to like know a little bit about it, but don't feel pressured to like be some sort of an expert before you come. That's why you're coming to the US, right? Not because you already know everything. So yeah.
Okay, so let me just ask you a quick question. Did you when you guys all say Excel, do you suggest taking courses through Coursera or Udemy or one of these things in terms of mastering Excel? Because I actually took an Excel course myself, and I understood the power of macros. It's unbelievable if you really know how to use Excel for the power it is. So the question is, coming back to is that would you do it yourself by just picking up a book or take some classes?
I honestly don't really know how to answer that because I did it in Kelly School of Business through my course. But some of the topics that you should probably look out for would be using Solver, using Monte Carlo simulations and macros, as Suratha mentioned. And those are some of the things that I learned, which was super interesting. But yeah, I think Jill, did you learn it from some online course?
Oh, yeah, but pivot tables would save your life one day. Trust me. But yeah, you can just choose a course which is not very expensive. It's about how you are working with Excel. Just don't take it too seriously. Just play with it. But anything that's a cheap course, YouTube is fine as well if you don't want to pay. But start looking at Excel every day. And if there's nothing you want to do and you want to relax before your masters, that's fine as well. But Excel is something, just get familiarized with it. It has a lot more options than just addition and subtraction.
Okay, one question that two questions that I have. I think one question that I want to talk about is more to do with university and one is work. So let me start the work question first. Okay, what is the work-life balance that I know it's technology consulting now, tech industry, everyone talks about tech industry is a pretty well sorted industry. We had Suraj right before you guys over here, and he was saying, you know what, I have a lovely work-life balance. Okay, I go to work, I come back, and I've got enough of a lifestyle to myself, enough time to myself. Okay, and when we spoke to the people, when we spoke to some mentors in last week, when we talked about computer science field, everyone except the people working at Amazon said the same thing. Okay, so my question to you is, what is the work-life balance when it comes to tech consulting? Okay, at Slalom. And what about you, Jill? At Lucid, I know you work at a startup. I know the startup atmosphere is like full of energy, full of vibe. So what is it like in terms of work life? I know you're going to work on Saturday, so
Yeah.
what it is?
So it is how we take it, to be very honest. Here, you can have a brilliant work-life balance, but I work in the Bay Area, and I don't know if a lot of people know this. There is a running joke in the Bay Area. Going to a therapist is very normal. And if you go to a therapist, they'll be like, yeah, you're just burnt out. It's fine. You are another Bay Area tech employee. It's fine. Just relax for a couple of days and you'll be fine. I don't know about everyone else, but I'm not upset that my work-life balance at the moment is not that great. I would love to have a great work-life balance a couple of years down the line, but right now I'm learning and I'm too excited to not stay extra hours just to learn a lot more than I can, as much as I can. But you can have a great work-life balance. I don't have one, but you can have a great work-life balance here. No one will even bat an eye if you leave at 4:35. You can work at your hours. You can leave when you want, and if you don't reply to on Saturday Sunday, even if that email is from your CEO, it's completely fine. No one would say anything to you. So if you want to have a work-life balance, start maintaining that from the day one of your job, because that then will define how you are working there. If you are working there for a little bit more, they wouldn't mind giving you more work. But if you want to have a work-life balance, move out of the office at 5 and they will be okay with it as well.
You guys, Tanya and
Yeah,
Yashil.
yeah, I can go first. So I wouldn't say that every tech company has a sorted work culture. At Splunk, I did not experience that. But Slalom, as a tech consulting company, is an exception. I would say rather than me telling you all about it, just check out the Glassdoor reviews. It is like the consulting company to be at right now in terms of culture. So I would say I got very lucky, but in most tech consulting firms, then you have to manage offshore teams. You have to be up at like 6 a.m., deal with the India team, then work like US hours, and then again get on meetings in the evening. I don't do any of that. Slalom does not have an offshore team, but I know a company which rhymes with Beloit actually does that and makes their employees work more than 10 to 12 hours. So I wouldn't say it is specific to the industry, but it is very specific to the company.
Yeah, I
I
would
agree with you.
agree.
Go ahead, Tanya.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. For me, I stop working 5, 6 p.m. every day, and I, have the tendency to overwork myself. So I make like a conscious decision to stop working at a certain time in the day, and I just like shut down my laptop, and no one says anything. Most people are out of office by then. Um, but yeah, there are other tech consulting firms which do make their employees work like a lot. And it depends. That's something you have to consider when you're looking for a job, I guess, whether what you're okay with.
Tanya, why don't you tell them the story about your purple hair and what the manager said?
Yeah, I wanted to color my hair, and in Kelly, it's a school, it's a business school, and we were told to dress and look a certain way to be professional. And yeah, so I had a lot of like preconceived notions about like having colored hair and stuff in my mind. And then I asked my manager at Slalom, and he was like, nobody cares, like do whatever you want. And that's the kind of culture that they have. They're very accepting. They had like several workshops and sessions with us, trying to encourage us to be our true self. And I've never heard of any other company, at least in tech consulting, doing that. And yeah, I just feel fortunate that I am able to color my hair purple if I want to.
Okay, let me ask you one last question, and then I want your parting thoughts. Okay. Um, you both completed masters in information systems at Kelly. Uh, what was the specializations what that one demand? And likewise for G, when you did your Northeastern, you did your this in industrial engineering. What are the specializations that one demand as you look from market perspective? Go ahead.
So I'll start with the concentrations that are offered at Kelly. So it's digital enterprise systems, which is ERP systems, SAP, and all of that. And the other one is business intelligence. And sorry, give me 1 second. Something is making. Yeah, the other is business intelligence and analytics, which is exactly what it sounds like. And the third one is security. So I did my main concentration in digital enterprise systems, and I did a co-concentration in business intelligence and analytics. So at the time, I was told that I'm just going to refer to it as DES. So I was told that DES would be more in demand since people with SAP skills are not like not many people have SAP skills, but a lot of people know how to analyze data. So you will be more in demand learning SAP. After doing the concentration, I realized that I didn't really want, I feel like a career in SAP, you only do SAP. Like there's nothing else that you do except SAP. And I didn't really feel like I wanted that for the rest of my life. So I didn't look at those jobs. But also, I realized that analytics jobs were a lot more in volume, like in quantity, and also more in demand than SAP jobs. So yeah, that was my experience.
Yes, it's likewise.
Yeah, it was likewise. And like, I agree with what Tanya said, that our professors told us that like we as MSI students would be more favorable to the companies if we took that concentration, but I didn't find that to be true. In fact, my job is in AWS, which is not related to any of the concentrations that I did.
Okay. So would you say that, so I'm assuming both of you guys chose a business intelligence and analytics track or something else?
So
That
the
was our,
primary sorry, go ahead, Tanya.
no, I was just going to say that was like our core concentration. The
Okay.
primary one was digital enterprise systems, which was about ERP and SAP.
Got it. Got it. Got it. And what was the placement percentage when you guys graduated? Did everyone get a job from your this?
So most of the students in my program were Americans and they don't have any visa issues. So yeah, they got jobs very, very easily. For for international students, not just Indians, it was definitely a struggle. But I don't know anybody who did not have a job. I don't even know anybody who did not have a good job.
Good, very good. Let me ask Jill the same question. Jill, concentrations. And Jill, there's a question that kept on recurring, and this is for Northeastern, but first let's go through those two questions that you had that I brought up. One is relating to what specializations are in vogue or in demand. I won't say in vogue, but in demand from a career perspective, okay? And the second question, someone is asking is with respect to graduate engineer leadership certificate in NEU. If you can just expound on that as well.
Okay, so courses that were more in demand through industrial engineering, you could go with data science positions, data scientist, and analytics. The other main courseworks that people did was manufacturing courses and lean technologies and process improvement courses. And the third section was your project management, program management, product development. And the fourth section was supply chain related courses. And about the graduate, so NU provides 3 graduate courses, the certifications. So in NU, there is a concept where, first of all, anyone who's coming to NU, please look at business courses from Demo Business School. And if you can do that, go for it. It is a little bit of a struggle and a little more difficult to complete. But if you can take a business course from NU, don't even think for a second and go for those courses. But in that you can do graduate certificate. There are 3 graduate certificates, if I remember. The one that I did was supply chain management, and there were, I think, 2 other, but I don't remember. In that, you don't specifically have to do anything extra. You just have to take the courses that align with both your course, your own masters, plus the certification courses. So it's like you have to just take 1 or 2 courses extra, and you get that graduate certificate. They sell it off more than it is, but it's just another way to get more money out of you, and you can take more courses. So if you want, yeah, it seems very tempting in the first when you just enter. But if you are interested in those courses, only then take those courses. Don't take those courses to check it off your bucket list that, oh, you have another graduate certificate. Don't take the courses for the graduate certificate. If you get the graduate certificate, fine. I didn't take an extra course for the graduate certificate. I just took the courses that I wanted, and that covered me for the graduate certificate. So I got one.
Great. Any parting thoughts? I know Pranav, thank you for waiting as we conclude this. Jill, Tanya, and Yashil, any parting thoughts that you would like to share with the student community? In hindsight, what would you do different? In hindsight, whether what you did was the way to go ahead?
Yeah, once I answer, I'll have to leave the call because I have something else. So I'll just go first. For me, I feel like I just want to reemphasize what Jill said about choosing what you are passionate about and what you like. Obviously, money is important, but you'll get money in MIS as well. So, think about what you want to do for the rest of your career, or at least for the next like 5 years or so. Another thing I wanted to slightly touch on was product management. I know that a lot of people who want to choose MIS have product management in mind. So did I. It's very different from tech consulting, although you kind of require the similar skill set. It's not at all the same. I feel like it's a much more high pressure situation because you are responsible for a product and its success and finding out how to make it better, what features to include. And we can talk about that more later on if there's like a product
We
session
do
or
have
something.
we'll get you in the product session.
Yeah, I interviewed a lot for product management, so that's why I know a little bit about it. But yeah, I just wanted to say that it's not the same, and also it's not easy to get into as a fresher. But yeah, those are my parting thoughts.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I would say that the most important thing you can do for yourself is to network. So what I did was, before going to the US, I asked Jimmy sir to give me a list of students who went to Kelly and got, like, good jobs, who were also a part of Collegepond. And that helped me tremendously. I got a few referrals out of there, and those people then, became such good friends of mine. They gave me some of their contacts as well. So I would say in the US, the whole recruitment game is about how many people do you know and how many referrals can you get. It is not about which skills you have. I mean, definitely that's important, but it's all about your connections and how well you can present your skills.
Jill.
I 100% agree with him. Network, network, network. If you don't do it, just don't do anything, sit on LinkedIn. Every day, spend 1 hour on LinkedIn, reach out to the people. Don't hesitate. That's one thing I struggled with a lot. No one really cares that you are asking for help. Just ask for it. We've been there, done that. We understand. If someone reaches out to me right now, I 100% respond to them because I know how difficult it is to get it, how difficult it is in the beginning. So just network, reach out to the people, reach out to anyone and everyone you want to. Don't hesitate. Oh, this person is at the top. Can I reach out to him? Just drop him a message. If he's busy, he wouldn't reply. Another thing, if someone is not responding to you on LinkedIn, chances are they haven't checked LinkedIn. It's not because they don't want to respond. They are just too busy not to check LinkedIn. They are not doing it because they don't want to respond to you. So reach out to the people, network as much as you can, and uh, it will help you not just for work but also for on-campus jobs. If you there, it's a struggle which people don't anticipate as much and don't emphasize much in the beginning. But if you are coming from a background where you are taking education loan, you would want to do an on-campus job, and if that's your goal to do an on-campus job, start reaching out to your seniors, start reaching out to someone who's going to graduate just before you, and ask him or her to give you his job in your on-campus positions. So just network as much as you can and reach out to the people as much as you can. There's one thing that would really help, and always remember that it's not just about what you have to understand. You're coming with a visa where it will get difficult, and it's okay if it gets difficult for all of us, for the best of us. So just have patience and you will get through. Don't worry.
Great. Thank you very much, guys. You guys did an excellent session. Thank you very much
Thank you.
for being part of this.
Thank
Pranav,
you so much.
are you there? I apologize for making you wait.
Hi, I'm there.
Okay, Pranav, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, so I am Pranav Kavde and I did my master's from TU Delft. I graduated 1 month ago, and my master's was in integrated product design, which is more like a joint of engineering plus art kind of a course, because our faculty is industrial design engineering, and the course I did was more towards artistic products called integrated product design.
So Pranav, I just want to understand, why did you choose a course like this? Your background was mechanical engineering, I assume.
Yes, my background was mechanical engineering, but I was interested into more artistic forms. And then I wanted to implement my love towards engineering with the artistic approach I had. And then I found out these product design courses. I did a proper research and I found out that TU Delft has like the better combination that I wanted.
Okay.
And
go ahead, Pranav.
yeah, I was saying it also depends because I focused more on European universities because there is more scope for design in Europe and especially Scandinavian countries. So all my applications were restricted to Europe.
Great. Now, why, when you looked at design and you chose TU Delft, okay, question was, what type of skill set does your curriculum require a student to have, because it's just such a unique curriculum that you're in
Yes.
integrated product design. So what type of skill set is required?
The main qualifying thing is your portfolio, which gives the quality of your skill sets. Like the person will understand how skilled you are based on your portfolio. And it basically requires good 2-3 projects, personal projects, some group projects, which includes tangible products as well as more digital products or
So
different
like, what
types
is
of.
your portfolio? What is your portfolio built on? Just trying to
Yeah,
understand.
a portfolio is like a cluster of your projects or your work that you have done throughout these years that showcases your skills in product design. Like more like if your products are more towards engineering, then it will showcase, like if you suppose build certain particular product, then a portfolio includes that particular project of 2-3 pages which says what product was built, how it was built, the whole process you followed to come up to that end product and all that. So that's how the portfolio includes. And your skill sets are based on that, oh, you built this product, oh, how did you do it, oh, you did user interviews, okay, you also did some prototyping, something like that.
Okay. And what is the curriculum all about at TU Delft in terms of the curriculum that you were in? Before I talk about curriculum, what is the diversity of students at TU Delft in this program?
It's quite diverse in case of design because there's a lot amount of Europeans in there. It's not like the locals are there. It is not like all are Dutch people because it's in the Netherlands. It is more of like a cluster of Europeans together, and Indians are quite less. Chinese are also quite less comparatively to other courses because in general those are quite in large numbers. But in design, if you see, it's quite a diverse course.
Are they all coming from the engineering background, or some are coming from the fine arts background as well?
So many people come from art background or architecture background, and there is a special semester that you can opt for, which helps engineers to get into design field. I opted for that semester, which is like a separate semester, which helps engineers to get a good hand on design, and then you start with the actual design course.
So you think many came from the arts background as well for this?
Yes.
Okay. And were they, because since you're doing a mix and an integrated between engineering and design,
Yes.
was it difficult for the art students to actually get involved in the engineering aspects or the fundamental construction aspects of these, or
No, I
was it
don't
well
think
laid
so.
out?
I guess it depends on the person to person who wants to pursue which type of product design, because then there comes various types of stages where engineering involves in the later half of the product design part. So it depends on which stage you want to be as a product designer. But
Okay.
overall, also the course structure is not so engineering heavy, so you can easily cope up with. But obviously, having an engineering background helps a lot.
Okay. Okay. In terms of product design, okay, what with respect to the entire curriculum and the whole perspective, what is your experience of one or two courses that you really enjoyed thoroughly and something that defined the curriculum?
I would say the best thing that defines TU Delft's curriculum is that they don't have exams, but their whole grading system is based on actual projects which you do with clients, like actual market clients, actual companies like Toyota, Philips, and all. So
Oh, wow.
that really defines your way, because you easily get a chance to get a job because you have already worked with the company for 6 months as a part of your curriculum. Then the company knows you, you know the company, and it's easy to get into a job through that
So,
way.
so you mean to say that every student who did integrated product design has ultimately got placed already
Yeah,
with a job?
yeah. It's very easy because of this kind of curriculum, because we have 2 semesters which are completely project based, and the projects are with external companies like startups, or there are very few big companies like Philips is always there. Toyota was there last year, and it depends every year. Like there are new companies, and you get to work for 6 months, like one semester with one company as a part of your one course. So these 2 courses are the very vital courses for product design, and they define a lot of your like learnings from the whole curriculum.
Okay. I want to talk about two things. One, I want to talk before I move into the life at TU Delft, okay, from you, because a lot of students are thinking of going to Netherlands. Okay. So before I bring that into perspective, I just want to understand from you, you currently work at H2L Robotics.
Yes.
Okay. What do you currently do as a design engineer there?
As a design engineer, like it's a startup. So obviously a person working at a startup has to do multiple jobs. The main thing I do is to design the whole machine, like how its components should be, the internal design and all. And being an engineer, I also do the mechanical manufacturing and assembly of the machine.
Okay. So because you had an engineering background, it was relatively easy to get this job, or was
Yes, yes. It really helped because if you are applying for startups, they always look for multidisciplinary people. And if you have more than one skill, it's easy to get a job. I got this job as a part-time to cover up my expenses during my second year. I worked 1 year as a part-time at the same company where I was working only 1 or 2 days a week doing uh, actual design work, not more like a mechanical engineering work. But then now when I started working full-time with them, I got into all the engineering stuff as well.
okay? Got it. Got it. Great, great, great. Okay. Would you happen to know what the product manager careers? What's a career for you going forward? What's a career trajectory for you?
I would say it again depends on which sector you want to work in the whole stages of product design. If you say the product design involves, like if you want to design a particular product, you have these various stages, which is the research phase, then there is this ideation phase, then there's development phase, which where engineers like go in a lot. So I'm working in that development phase where you have a product concept already and you have to develop that product and bring to the market. But then there are other designers as well who work more into the research phase or the ideation phase where they have to be highly creative to first of all come up with a product that is a market need and then see how it's feasible to bring this product into market. That's the first half. So there are product designers who go into research phase also. Then there are research based designers. Then there are ideation based designers who are completely like it's more like artistic and creative field where you have to open up your mind and try to come up with various types of products before checking into feasibility. And the next half comes like the job I do or the job I like to do, where engineering gets involved and you have to actually make it happen, like make the product, do prototypes, tests, talk to users, see how they reflect to your product, change the product, and finally bring a complete finished product to the market.
So yours is you're more involved in the go-to-market
Yes, the last phase.
process, the last phase. Okay. Moving to TU Delft. Okay. What was the experience at TU Delft? I know you chose Netherlands. Did you have a language barrier or anything like that?
No, I
Or
never felt any language barrier. Even now, when I'm working full time, I have never had any reason to learn Dutch to that level. I do know normal basic scientific Dutch. I don't know the normal Dutch, but I know some scientific words or the words that I use regularly in my industry. Those are the only Dutch words that I have learned. Rest of normal conversation, I have not done anything. It's completely okay. English is very common to talk.
okay. So in your company currently, what's the diversity? Is it basically predominantly Dutch?
No,
Europeans?
we have more. It's predominantly Europeans, but not like Dutch. So we have Greek. We have two Greek people. We have one from France. So it's more like a European, but not like Dutch.
Okay. And even in TU Delft, although the instruction was in English, you didn't feel at a disadvantage because you potentially had a language barrier or anything like that.
No, I never felt like that. It's very like there is a vast international people in TU Delft, so most of the things are English. So it's not at all a problem. There might be one or two bachelor's courses that you would like, and if you're choosing for bachelor's courses, like out of curiosity as an elective or extra course, they might be in Dutch, but then it like obviously it's like an extra stuff. So you might or you might not do that.
Okay. What other positions were available for students outside your peers? What other jobs did they get? Were they all design engineers or were they all other jobs as well?
No, most of my friends, even though they were from engineering background, they moved towards the creative field, the middle part where you have a proper problem definition that the market needs this particular product, and then your job is to come up with a product basically or redesign the product. The middle phase where you have to be highly creative, that part is very famous because you get into various design studios if you have that kind of a skill set and if you're looking for that job. So most of my friends are into that sector.
And they got easily placed, not an issue as well.
No, like I would not say it's completely easy, but if you have a good connection with the companies you worked for in the last 1 year during your courses, those people got easily placed, because I know everyone has a backup now, because everyone has at least that one company with them, with whom they work for. So that is like a good backup to always have. And then they are all looking for better options now.
Okay, got it, got it. Okay, what's the range of salaries in Dutch in Netherlands for?
If you are working for a good design studio, or if you're working for Philips or something, like I have my friend who's working for Philips, he gets around 50,000.
Oh, that's very good.
Yeah,
that's very good.
It's really good. And I work as a freelancer. I did not opt to work like a proper employee. So for me, it's a little bit low. I get around 20 or 25 euros a hour. So that's like a general salary for startups and all. But if you're going for big companies, you get very good salary.
Okay. Now, what is the work visa requirements in Netherlands, and how do you get residency in Netherlands?
So first, you get 2 years of residence permit for your studies, and then you can extend that for one more year.
Even though you're a freelancer, not an issue?
Yeah. I worked as a freelancer on my student visa. There was no problem.
Okay.
Even after the student visa gets expired, you can apply for an extension for 1 year, and you can again work as a freelancer in that 1 year. You can also work as a normal employer in that 1 year, but there is some small procedure. You have to get some stamp, pay some few euros, and then you can get that. And after that, if your company is ready to sponsor your visa, you get your visa. Big companies easily sponsor your visa. If it's a startup or something, then they have to pay some around 3,000 or some euros to be eligible to sponsor visas, and they can then sponsor your visas.
And that's still a visa, or that's residency?
Residency, like basically residence permit for as long as you are working over there. If you want a permanent residence permit, then that's you have to wait for 5 years or something. You have to work for 5 years over there. Then you can get a permanent residence.
Okay. A couple of questions that came up is, you mentioned universities in Europe that are good for product development. Which other university did you look at besides UDELT, and did you have to take a GRE for any of this?
I did give a GRE, but I never used it. I applied for TU Delft. I applied for TU Eindhoven, which also has a product design course. Then I applied for Swedish universities. There are very nice Swedish universities. There is one Chalmers, there is KTH, and there are some like Jönköping and all. Even in London, there are some courses which are very nice. But if I also wanted to have the freedom to roam around Europe with the Schengen visa, so I went for Netherlands.
Okay, and your experience with TU Delft has been par excellence, I would assume.
Yeah, it was really nice. I did thought that because of COVID, I might not have the things I expected, but I would say they really managed well. At least my faculty. Our faculty was very creative because they managed to have classes even during the period COVID time. We used to go 2 days a week at the university, even though like every other faculty was closed. It was only our faculty which was open, but we used to go for only 2 days or something.
Okay, so basically you did have classes. Yours was
yes.
all in-class instruction.
Yeah.
And the internship still happened. The capstone project still happened the last year.
Yes. Everything happened just like it would. Even they were so helpful that during the main phase where it was like a COVID outbreak, and people were not able to prototype, they provided 3D printers to each group, like a single 3D printer to every group, like a 3D printer for 4 people. It was like a big help. They were really helping. The faculty was really nice in that.
Wow.
And it's the best thing to like you get a lot of facilities, and the best thing is to utilize everything. Like if you just sit around and do just the normal courses, it's no fun. Like you have so much facilities. You have like 30, 40 3D printers, all different types. You have every type of exploration. I would just say do your personal projects a lot throughout your course and explore everything you can.
So the infrastructure, you're saying the infrastructure at UDELT are just...
Yeah. Our faculty has very nice infrastructure with full equipped systems, and you get easy access and you don't have to pay anything extra. Once you pay your fee, you can attend any course from any faculty. You can use any of the facilities, and it's all like within the fees only.
Great, great,
It
great,
just
great,
depends how much you can exploit it.
great, great. Okay, so let me ask you a question about your company. You guys, you're saying the word H2L robotics means you guys in the robotics field.
Yes.
Okay. What do you guys do? What are you guys doing, and what are you guys trying to create in the startup?
So
And where do you see the whole field of robotics with what you're doing in terms of design?
in our company, in the robotics, we currently are working on a single product, which is for tulip fields. So in Netherlands is very well known for tulips and tulip fields. And we work on an autonomous machine which goes over tulip fields, tries to find the problematic tulip, the poisonous tulip, and kills it with a disinfectant. That's what our machine does, and it does autonomously. So that's kind of design we are doing. And my job as a designer was to, like, my job was not just like a designer, but more like a design engineer, which also involved thinking about how it will be done, not only just how it will look. And it all involved about whole process of designing how the machine should move, and then some knowledge about motors and this and that, and ended up with like a external design factors where you have to consider looks also, and then usability also, because it will be
So,
handled by farmers. So you have to, like, the users part comes into the picture at that point.
so you were obviously part of a team, or was it an individual project? I would assume this is a team-based project.
Yeah, it's like a team-based project. We are like a very small startup. We are 10 people. We all work together on the same machine.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. How would you, since you went to any parting thoughts that you would have to the student community with respect to TU Delft or integrated product design for people who are thinking of design, but are still wary about the whole idea? What would you say?
For people who are thinking about product design, I would say don't stop yourself. Do a lot of personal projects, be it very small projects, be it like a 1 day project, 1 month project. Do a lot of personal projects. Try to explore stuff, fail on it, but don't stop yourselves. And that helps making a portfolio, which will in further help you either getting a proper master's university or your job. It all depends on your portfolio and how you sell yourself with your products.
Great, great, great. And what about TU Delft?
Yeah, TU Delft as a university is a really nice university. The best thing is that you get access to all the courses in the same tuition fee. And then uh, as a designer, your client changes, your field changes. So when I had a client which was more like aerospace field, so I was lucky enough that because of being a TU Delft student, I was able to access all TU Delft lectures and all, so that I could easily grasp knowledge and work through my client. Next time when I had a medical based client, I could again easily shift from this faculty to that faculty, talk to those professors, get some courses, learn some new stuffs, and this all was in the same fee. So it was really helpful that I could go through all different types of faculties at the same time.
Okay, one last question that came, and this is a good segue to the next topic that is going to be talking about robotics engineering demystified, or deconstructed, sorry, is a question that came up, and I think you can answer it from a Netherlands perspective, is how are job internship opportunities for robotics engineer in Netherlands? If you
I
can
think
answer it.
I
Go
think it
ahead.
is increasing now. I would say there are a lot of new fields where there is a lot of robotics and that kind of stuff coming in. But the main thing in Netherlands is the sustainable design. So if you are a sustainability fan and if you want to explore in that field, Netherlands is the best country, I would say, at least to start with, because it has a very good hold on being sustainable, green to the environment, circular economy, and all that kind of stuff. Robotics is a field, but I would not say it's that boom like the one with sustainable and stuff.
Great. So we're moving as thank you very much, Pranav. Okay,
Welcome.
we're taking forward to taking engineering for robotics engineering deconstructed forward with two people that we have, and I'm expecting a third one as well, with Pallavi and Umang. And Pranav, you're more than welcome to stay on this because we'd love to have you on board as well. So welcome, Pallavi. Welcome, Umang. Thank you for being part of us, part of this symposium. I think it's been a great session till now, and we've learned a lot. So let's talk about robotics, because a lot of questions are being asked about robotics. A lot of people are thinking about robotics from a perspective of field, especially with respect to mechanical engineering or electrical computer engineering. So what I want to do is for both of you guys, if you guys can introduce yourself And Pranav, please stick around because there'll be a lot of questions being coming to you and you'll be more than happy to answer that as well. Pallavi, can you start with introducing yourself, and then I'll take it to Umang to introduce himself.
Yeah, sure. So, hello everyone. My name is Pallavi Shintre, and I came to the United States to do my master's in electrical engineering with a specialization in controls and robotics in fall 2018. Um, Before that, I did my undergrad at Manipal University in mechatronics engineering, and Collegepond has helped me throughout my master's application, SOPs, right, applying to different like universities, selecting, shortlisting my universities, and everything. And there was one more incident that happened when I was in the United States. I was doing my internship and my backpack got stolen and my passport was in it. So I had to travel back to India to get my visa stamp. And during that process as well, Collegepond helped me a lot. So I am really happy to be doing this. Like, of course, for Collegepond as well as for the students who are, planning to come for their higher education to the US in robotics. So happy to be here and happy to
Thank
answer
you
your
very
questions.
much, Pallavi. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you for having me.
Umang, go ahead.
Hi. So I think my internet connection is a little bit unstable. So anyways, so I'm Umang Rastogi, and I'm a robotics engineer, a software the Digital Dream Labs here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, United States. I came to the United States 2 years ago, right after completing my bachelor's in electronics and communication engineering from Manipal Institute of Technology in India. And Collegepond helped me throughout the entire application process, all the SOPs, LORs, stuff. And even though all of the work was done remotely, even during the pre-pandemic era, it was a smooth process. I could get in touch with all the counselors, and I got into one of the best robotic institute in the country of United States of America. So
great. So let me ask you one question, all three of you. Okay, what is robotics engineering? I mean, the whole word of robotics engineering is it control systems? What is robotics engineering? So Umang, you start off with this whole thing.
Okay, so I think robotics is a very multidisciplinary field. Like you can get into robotics essentially using mechanical engineering, using electronics and communication, computer science, and even since it has applications in medicine as well, even biologists end up working on robots. So it's a very diverse field with a lot of applications, and it's essentially like you could possibly study almost any field of engineering and get into robotics if you have the interest.
Great. Pallavi, from your perspective, robotics engineering, but more importantly, let me ask another question, a follow-up question to what Umang said. Okay, what are the trending fields in robotics engineering? Is it still a research-based field, or is it actually application-based field? Pranav mentioned that it's becoming more and more application-based with design. He's a design engineer. So from your perspective, what do you think?
Well, I think there is still a lot of research side to robotics. So if you are pursuing your master's in robotics, you have a lot of scope to pursue a PhD or go in the research direction. But like Umang said, or like Pranav said, there are a lot of application based jobs or like you can go in the application based field as well. So to give an example, I did my entire coursework and my thesis in the research side, but now I'm working completely in the application side. So I'm not doing any kind of research. It's all about writing like robotics programs and like go actually installing them in the hardware, because even the manufacturing industry or like energy industry, all of those industries are going towards industry 4.0, which is like adding artificial intelligence or robotics to their processes. So I think it is going a lot towards application engineering side. And with robotics, I think the advantage is if you take the right coursework in the right direction, you can go from anywhere to anywhere. So even if your coursework, like your specialization is mechanical, but you are doing like, I mean, your master's is in mechanical engineering, but you're doing a specialization in robotics, you can also go into computer vision, or you can go into artificial intelligence, or you can go into like design, robotics design, where you do the mechanical groundwork. So it is all like really vast. And if you have the privilege of doing specialization in robotics and taking all that coursework, then it's definitely like sky's the limit. Like you can go in any direction you want. So I think the positions can be a mechanical design, like robotics design engineer, it can be a computer vision engineer, an artificial intelligence engineer, it can be an integration engineer. um so like, I mean, IoT engineer, there are so many different ways in which you can go. So it's all dependent on your interest and the kind of coursework you take, so what you learn. So I think, yeah.
Great. Abhijit, welcome on board. Abhijit, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Abhijit Mishra. I am a robotics engineer. I did my robotics engineering at Columbia. After doing my mechanical engineering in University of Pune, and now I'm working as a robotics engineer at a company known as Everest Labs. We basically use robots to sort trash. So that's what I'm doing currently. I'm responsible for the robots there. Yeah, that's my profile.
Okay, I have a quick question for you, and this is a very interesting question. And thank you, Abhijit, for coming on board. You guys too came from electrical and computer engineering background. Abhijit came from mechanical engineering background. Do you guys feel disadvantaged? And Pranav, you came from a mechanical engineering background as well. Do you guys feel disadvantaged that you don't have the either or, either the electrical and computer engineering or the mechanical aspect of it or the computer science aspect of it? Okay, how does it feel? Or is it more of an interdisciplinary that you can just pick up this skill set that you want to develop? So let's start with Abhijit, and then I want to go through all four of you guys on this, because this is a very interesting question, because a lot of people are looking at robotics engineering from all types of backgrounds.
In my view, absolutely yes. There is, in robotics engineering, what I have come across is you, for the least, require Python. And if you really want to get into core robotics, you need to have C++. The reason why I say this is I came from a mechanical engineering background. Never before did I write a line of code before coming for my master's. And that was a tremendous problem, because everything in robotics is coding. Most of it, I would say, is coding. And that can actually weigh in when you're giving interviews, because most companies require you to have, many companies require you to have a really core knowledge of C++, for especially those which deal with self-driving cars and robotic surgical companies, because they need to be real time, and that's why you need to have a good knowledge of Python and C++ at least.
Okay, what about you, Umang?
Yeah, so I had a bit of trouble dealing with mechanical concepts because I was an electronics engineer myself, but I had a good software computer science experience, I would say. So I did not face that much of a trouble on that side. For any robotics candidate who's thinking of pursuing robotics, I would say you have like 2 or 3 months, I think, before getting into the college when the semester starts, and a quick brush up of each of these aspects, like little bit of math is really important, and little bit of mechanical concepts. And you need, if you have not touched software, any type of coding, you need to touch base upon that and get our hands on.
Pallavi.
Yes, of course. So my undergraduate was in mechatronics engineering, so I kind of did have a background of at least the basics of mechanical engineering, robot kinematics, so like the math part of it, and a little bit of programming as well. But yeah, I think if you are going into core robotics, then it can be a little challenging to so if you go into robotics, you're into R&D, suppose you're going to work from scratch on something, you need to know how to use CAD softwares to design the structure. You need to know how to write a Python program for whatever scripting or the learning part of it. You need to know C++ for the firmware, and you really need to know these things. I mean, you can pick it up, because I think one good thing that happens when you're doing your masters is you have so many resources around you that if you want to learn, you can learn. But you do need to like learn these extra skills. If your undergraduate is in a very specific field like mechanical engineering or computer science, where either or you will not have done the other part of it. But I think you can pick it up while doing your masters. Even though you don't take the coursework related to it, you can still pick it up. I think even when you start working, you can still do online courses and learn these things if you want to go into more core robotics. But definitely you need to expand your skill set vastly in order to get into core robotics. That's for
Okay,
sure.
Pranav, you want to add anything to this?
No, I really agree with all of those. It really helps if you have knowledge in all of those. I was lucky to have 2 years of electronics experience before doing my mechanical engineering. So I was good at both of them. And I also know working on Python and C++. So it really helped me to get a job easily.
Okay. Now let me ask you a question. Because robotics is such an interdisciplinary field, can you tailor your curriculum to only the software side? Or do you have to do, is it something that you have to take it all across the board? Whoever wants to answer this, go ahead.
Yeah, so I have personal experience on this side. I did cater my course and almost entirely towards software. I only had two courses which were actually core courses and were compulsory for the curriculum to get my degree. And those were one was robot modeling and one was related to control systems. So after that entirely, because you have so many, you have electives, almost entire curriculum here is based on the courses that you want to do. So you can entirely focus on a particular side, but there might be 1 or 2 courses that you will have to do in order to get it. And like as a robotics engineer, you need to know the mechanical aspect, electrical aspect, and the computer side. So you need to do at least 1 courses in that so that you have the basic knowledge, so that if a problem arises, you can and you might be able to think of a solution using those concepts. But
so
yeah.
So Umang, question for you. You currently work at Digital Dream Labs as a software developer. What do you do as a software developer in the robotics and digital Dream Labs?
Yeah, so I work on a lot of things. I get to work on apps that tend to communicate with robots. I get to work on the embedded software, which is like kind of more on the electronic side. But it's so there are two type of software involved in robotics, I would say. One on the higher level, which the user interacts with, and one more hidden inside the robot, through which it communicates internally to its parts, like motors and motors and its sensors and that kind of stuff.
Okay. So the question, Abhishek, coming to you, Abhijit, coming back to you. You're currently working as a robotics engineer. What is your role encompass as skills in terms of on a day-to-day basis?
My skills involve, okay, I'll tell you what my role is. So Everest Labs as a company is based on sorting trash. So let's say you have on a conveyor line, you have trash flowing. We put a camera on the conveyor line, and then we basically categorize trash. So let's say aluminum cans or milk bottles, etc. And then whatever is useful, we send a message to the robot, and then the robot is designed to pick it up. So my job is basically taking over the complete robotic side. So that involves, once the signal is sent to the robot, dealing with the entire robot code. Now that robot code, we currently use Fanuc robots. There are multiple robot manufacturers out there, and each robot manufacturer has a different programming language or different packages, as you may say. And my job is basically to use all of them to improve the performance of the robot and meet our goals. Other than that, I am also involved and have to deal with Python scripts and everything, only to figure out the vision side of things. So let's say calibrating the robot or understanding the depths and everything to make it more so that data can be sent in a better way to the robot. So that's my job. Okay,
great. So the next question is that coming to Pallavi. Okay, Pallavi, he's doing software as well as he's doing a certain amount of programming as well as engineering. I think electrical, computer, and mechanical to an extent, right?
Yes. Abhijit? So mostly mechanical and coding. Some of electrical also, because then you have to have. Whenever you install a robot, you will have like a lot of wiring going into it. So you will need to have some understanding of that.
Okay. Pallavi, what is your view? I mean, you're currently working as a control systems engineer in Honeywell. So the question is, do you have the same experience where all of you guys need to know coding as a base, de facto base?
So yeah, most of the work that I do is based on programming because I am like more towards software engineering. Like my role is more towards software engineering, but a part of my job is so we work with clients, Honeywell's clients. Currently, I'm working with Amazon. So my work is basically the fulfillment centers or the warehouses of Amazon Prime. They have a lot of automated equipment. Actually, most of their warehouses are automated. There are only few places where they do, like they have people standing and they do manual work. So all of this automation is like of the conveyors and the sorters and scanners and everything is done by mostly Honeywell and a few other companies. So I work on like writing program for these automation equipment, going on site, commissioning the program and testing the equipment, like actual on-site equipment, if my code is working well, if it's doing what it's supposed to do. And testing, like there are two phases of testing. There's an initial testing, then we do some changes, and we do the final testing. So while doing the testing, even if you don't want to, you have to get your hands dirty. You have to do some mechanical work, some electrical work, because you can always call those people working on electrical and mechanical engineering or installation. But there are delays when you're working on site in such an environment. So I always have my multi-tool with me. I do like the hands-on mechanical stuff. Sometimes I even do wiring, like if I need to rewire, something is not working. So once in a while I do need to do these things, but mostly I'm working in like software. So I guess you do need to do this if you are working on automation equipment. You need to get your hands dirty. Sometimes you need to have some knowledge about, how to use those tools. I don't really do anything on CAD or, like any software related stuff regarding mechanical and electrical engineering, but I do on-site hands-on things related to mechanical and electrical engineering, for sure.
Great. I didn't realize it to the extent of how software plays a very integral role in this whole thing.
Yeah.
But it seems to be that software is, from what I'm hearing from all three of you, software is the so-called underlying base for all the actions for the robots, more than anything else. Okay, so let me just come back to what are the job opportunities? I mean, a lot of students today are considering robotics as one of the trending careers going forward. Now, you all three are in the robotics field in some place, in some form or the other. So the question is, what are the job opportunities when it comes to robotics engineering, or what are the job opportunities in the field of robotics?
I can start answering by answering
Go
that.
ahead.
So, like I said, it's a very vast field, and it really depends upon what direction you go while selecting your coursework or doing your grad studies. But I think for me, I was confused for a lot of time because I did my thesis and I did like literally everything, all kinds of stuff that a robotics engineer would do. I did the structure of my prototype, I did the programming, I did testing, everything, experiment design. So it really depends on your interest, what kind of jobs. But like I think like Umang said, if you are really interested into software, I know a few of my grad classmates who were in the robotics program but who are working as software engineers at Qualcomm or Intel now. So it's really like what you want to do, because I think robotics engineering gives you a very strong base of whichever side you want to go to, like of mechanical as well as software side of it. But after that, what jobs you want to do is up to you. So there are like there are robotic specific jobs like robotic software engineer or robotics integration engineer or robotic systems engineer or robotic design engineer, or there are core jobs like mechanical CAD design, software design engineer, or core software engineer like systems software engineer working on operating systems, which is also the path that some people take if they are really passionate about that field. Like if on the way they realize that they're more passionate about that. I think in the US, it's really important how much hard work you put into it. If you have that knowledge, you can make your resume look like that and companies will be interested in you. It doesn't really matter, like if you had the coursework or not.
Umang.
Yeah, so robotics as a field, since it's so multidisciplinary, there is no bound on what kind of job that you can get. You can so as Pallavi said, people are her colleagues, her friends are working in Qualcomm. So as long as you can relate that maybe a company is making chips to that go into a robot, as long as it's defined remotely that it relates to robots, you can get you can consider that as a job opportunity for yourself. And I myself I am working on apps right now. My current project involves working on apps. That is hardcore software development, and the only remote part that is related to my job is because it's an app for a robot. So job opportunities are ample and diverse, I would say. You want to go into hardcore design, you focus yourself, you do such projects, you have such courses which focus on that design aspect. But yeah, the major chunk of it revolves around software, because design itself is a very core and like a niche, I would say. When you go into software, there are ample of subsystems in robotics that you can go into. So there's a subsystem called perception, where essentially you handle what the robot sees, right? And all that data. So that is a software thing. Then a major portion of robotics is motion planning, where you code essentially how the robot moves, how it plans to go from a point A to point B. Then there is a major chunk where you code how the robot interacts with its internal components. So I would say that a major chunk is revolved around software, and even with mechanical concepts, I think when it comes to like, suppose there's a robotic arm and it needs to go from this point, I have to go take my hand from this point to this point. So robotic arm has to do this. Even though there are mechanical modeling aspects involved in this, I will have to code essentially that, okay, this modeling, this transform has to be applied, this mathematics has to be applied, and that is done using software.
Abhijit, do you agree with this? Or do you have a different perspective?
No, I absolutely agree with it. Most of the jobs today in robotics will revolve around software. They can go from a general robotic software engineer to something like a specialized robotics software engineer in vision, software engineer for SLAM. SLAM is simultaneous localization and mapping, motion planning. And other role that is not touched upon but will soon be is robotic software engineers for deep learning and reinforcement learning. So that's something that will happen soon as our computation becomes better, as deep learning becomes more mainstream in robotics. You will have reinforcement learning coming in, where you use AI to basically control a robot, and that is where a mechanical / robotics engineer's role will be very crucial, because he understands the physical part of it as well as the AI based part of it. So that is one role that I feel will be very critical. One high paying job that I've come across is literally robot integrators. I cannot stress this enough, but there are very few robot integrators out there. By robot integrators, I mean good people who have worked with, let's say, proper ABB, Fanuc, Mitsubishi, KUKA robots, who, given an opportunity, can put a robot in a factory and make it work. And I kid you not, they're paid $300,000-$400,000 a year just for installing a robot in a factory. Wow. So even though that's mostly mechanical and that does not require a lot of coding, it's a very, very, very plum job out there, which not many people touch, because even in colleges or universities, they don't really have Fanuc robots or KUKA robots where, students can just go and bang the robot. So that's not there, because each robot is like $20,000, $30,000. And that's a job which is really needed by people, but it's not there. So that's something that I would also like to touch upon. And other thing that I have...
Sorry, go ahead.
Another thing that I have seen is in startups, you're expected to do everything. So that could be software, that could be mechanical, that could be electrical. And if you're a robotics software engineer or a robotics engineer in a startup, there's no stopping it. Like, I could be designing an end of arm one day, the other day I could be working with vision, and the third day I could be sitting in a factory trying to get the robot up and running. But that requires you to have the entire knowledge of everything, especially in a startup. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, so let me ask you something. What are the salary levels one can expect, and what are the prerequisites you would suggest someone to have if he's thinking of moving into robotics?
So, in my view, I would be able to speak about salaries in Bay Area.
Okay.
So if you get hired as a mechanical engineer per se in Bay Area, like you've done some robotics, but you're doing mechanical engineering, you could expect to be paid around 80 to 100K. That increases when you are doing robotic software engineer. This is for a base level engineer to somewhere between 90 to 120, 130K. And then you go into AI, which will be more paying, like let's say AI reinforcement learning. If you have those skill sets and are using that, that would increase it to about 120 to 160. And that's how it works. Normally, entry-level engineers do not get to work as robot integrators because they really have no experience. So I've not seen that kind of pay anywhere.
I think it also depends on the location. Like he said, he's talking about the Bay Area. My location is a very, very remote place. So my salary range is not like at all.
So what is yours? If you go ahead with yours.
So mine, I think, is in the range of 80 to 90K for an entry-level engineer, of course. Like I know about entry level. When you have more seniority, it goes beyond 100K. But that is because the lifestyle here is extremely cheap. So I think as compared to Bay Area or New York.
Yeah.
So that's why it suits us. Like it doesn't really make a big difference.
What Umang, what are the skill sets you would suggest someone to have before coming onto robotics in the field of robotics? Because you went to UMaryland College Park, which is the interdisciplinary robotics course. What skill set do you think that's very important, all three of you guys, as prerequisites?
I would say I don't know whether this is a skill set or not. Being good at math is a really big part of a robotics engineer because you have courses revolving around mechanical concepts and and control systems. So that involves a lot of math, working on a lot of integration and differentiation and probability, statistics, that kind of stuff. So being good at math is one, I would say. Then being able to pick up things really quickly helps, right? Because a lot of mechanical engineers are interested in robotics and they have to pick up software like that. I've seen my fellow colleagues struggle with the same thing because they were not able to pick up even simple electronics concepts. So being able to pick up things, I think, or if you're not, you have to put in a lot of time, having the determination to give yourself hours, if that's what it takes to get those concepts into your head. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. I just want to.
I think I just.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I just want to add one thing to what he said. Of course, math is extremely important if you're going into robotics because you need it for all, like, even if you go in any direction. But one more thing that you require is you need to have really, really good Googling skills. Because I think when you're doing your projects or even when you're working in a company as a robotics engineer, there are so many things that are like, I think I come across new issues every day. So the best way to deal with these issues rather than bugging other people is to find out by yourself why you're having that issue. And I think there is a lot of support community on Google, like different platforms which have like people having the same issues, posting their issues, and then people answering them. So I think you need to have that kind of aptitude as well, like Googling and finding out the reason and the solution to your issues while you're working on something.
Okay, great, guys. I know we're running behind schedule. We're 6 minutes into the other session. Just a quick last question. Any parting thoughts that you guys want to give the student community from a robotics field? Would you recommend them to join? Obviously, you guys would recommend them to join robotics engineering. But a question is, from your perspective, what would you want to tell the student community who's actually considering robotics? Let's start with Abhijit and let's just move down quickly.
I have only one most important thing. Whenever you go to select a college, university, go to a university which offers enough robotic courses for you to learn everything. I cannot stress this enough. Do not go into a university by brand name. That can later play out wrong because you might not get the right courses and that will hamper you big time. And go for courses which allow you to do projects. Dive deep, fall, learn, just do that. I cannot stress it enough. Go to a university which offers enough courses in robotics, path planning, multi-robots, perception, deep learning. Do not, especially if you're a mechanical engineer, do not feel that this is a big university with a big brand name. Yeah.
Thank you. I think that's great feedback.
I think I would just, my comment is just, I would like to add something to what Abhijit said. You also need to make sure that you have enough resources available at the university. So when you are selecting the university, you should also look at the labs and which professors are you want to take courses under. So I think, like he said, I think I would just support what he said, that you should go according to coursework and professors and lab infrastructure of the university rather than the brand name. That is definitely an important thing.
Okay, Umang, do you want to add anything?
Just a little thing that I agree to Abhijit's point to a certain extent that you need the overall knowledge. So the university should give you the entire spectrum. Yeah, but if you know that you want to focus on this aspect of robotics, then you can even look for universities and might as well accept apply to one of those universities where you can really focus on that field, because going into a broad spectrum and then if at the end you should also be master of one. You should not be a jack of all trades and then end up not really specializing in something that you really want to do. So yeah, don't miss out the opportunity of becoming a master of one by becoming a jack of all trades.
Great, thank you guys very much. Soham, sorry to keep you waiting. Thank you guys. If you guys have any more questions regarding robotics, please feel free to email us at info@collegepond.com and we will forward it to the respective mentors and they will give us their feedback on that. Thank you very much, guys. It was great catching up with you guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Soham.
Pleasure, Mike. Thank you so much.
Soham, sorry to keep you waiting.
No problem at all.
Okay, Nikita, are you there? Hello?
Yes, hi.
Hi, sorry to keep you guys waiting. Okay, our next session is moving away from robotics, although robotics plays a very important role in the medical field, to pharmacy. Okay, so what I want to understand from you guys is what is happening in the pharmaceutical field. I mean, many students ask us a question: should I do pharmacology? Do I do pharmaceutics? What should I be doing? Before we ask that question, can you guys go ahead and just give a brief introduction to each of you guys, Soham and Nikita, so that the audience has.
Sure. I can go first. So hi everyone, my name is Soham. I'm right now a fifth year PhD student in pharmaceutical health outcomes and policy at the University of Houston. Probably quite close to graduation. I'll be out in under a year. So
congratulations.
Yeah, I think things have been going a little crazy. Fourth and fifth year of PhD is always quite crazy. And my research mostly focuses on oncology outcomes. Oncology is cancer, for those who don't know the jargon. So yeah, and so far I think the experience has been pretty good. I've done 2 internships so far. One with Gilead Sciences, the company which invented remdesivir for COVID, for those who don't know, in California, and the second one was with Merck this year. It was with their Merck vaccines team, with their pneumococcal vaccines team to be exact. And yeah, this is where I am, hoping soon I'll graduate soon, because it's been a long journey. And PhD is more like a test match. It's not like a T20. You have to keep going, keep at it every single day. It's tiring, but it is fruitful. And yeah, that's all I have.
Go ahead, Nikita.
Yeah, so my name is Nikita. I'm currently working as an associate scientist in focusing on upper respiratory and GI tract in GSK in Richmond, Virginia. Before that, I completed my bachelor's in pharmacy from Bombay College of Pharmacy, and I did my master's from Northeastern in pharmaceutical science. And along with my master's, I also did my 2 co-ops, one in a startup called as Axial Biotherapeutics, and one was in a multinational company called as Takeda. So yeah, and Soham is actually my super senior from college, undergrad college. Yeah.
Okay, let me start the question between masters versus PhD. I mean, I'm great that I have both of you guys there, one a master's and one's a PhD. From a career perspective, what is more important? Do you think that a PhD is absolutely necessary, or to get in the research field, or do you think a master's will do?
Did you mind if I go first?
No, sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I personally feel that masters and PhD are so different from each other. Masters, on the other hand, like is just like a 2-year or 2.5-year commitment. But on the other hand, PhD, it may be like 3 to 5 or even more at times, depending upon your focus group or your specialization. PhD definitely requires more motivation, hard work, and determination. If you kind of compare as a PhD graduate, of course, you start up start as a little senior position in a company as compared to masters. You start as a very entry level position. But if you see like few years down the line, it just boils down to how capable you are as a person, as a scientist, and how can you use your scientific knowledge and apply and get the product into the market. So to answer the question, if it's necessary or not, it totally depends upon an individual. And if you are not sure if you should go for your master's or PhD, I would suggest do your master's first. What if you like some particular area in your field, and then you can do your PhD? And yeah, so that's what I feel.
So you did directly.
Yeah, I think Nikita put it out really well. I think it really depends on what you want to do. PhD is something, it is very self-driven. Nobody is going to spoon feed you at all. You have to come up with your own topic, pretty much do your own research. And as far as your role in industry goes, I've worked with 2 big pharmaceutical companies, and I've realized that since you're a PhD intern, you're pretty much, they let you lead a project. They let you come up with a study design. They let you come up with the analysis plan. So nothing is spoon fed, and it's similar after you graduate, I believe. If you were a master's graduate, you would join under someone. But if you're a PhD graduate, you would directly take up a senior position, and you are expected to know how to lead a project. You're expected to know how to work in a team better, because that's what you always do in a PhD program. You have a PI, your principal investigator, and you have your team. And it's always teamwork. You're expected to know certain skills. And of course, I feel the entry level pay scale is a little high for PhDs as compared to masters. But eventually, along the way, master's students also get there, I believe, maybe 5 or 6 years or 10 years down the line, depending upon how good they are, what their interests are, and what if they make smart career decisions. I feel sometimes they can, get a better job than PhDs as well. But yeah, just to sum it up, that's what I feel.
Okay, so what you're effectively saying is the PhD will take you a step above, but the 5-year investment that you're putting into a PhD, or the 3 or 4-year investment you're putting in the PhD, a master's student can actually progress through the career at the same pace and end up with the same job opportunity after 4 years. Am I correct in summarizing that?
Again, it depends upon the individual. I
Yeah.
would suggest, like in my company right now in GSK, I may tell you that there's a senior scientist who is just masters, but she's getting so many different projects to lead as compared to a PhD candidate who has just recently joined about 2 years back, but he's not getting enough projects. I will not say that, oh, okay, masters is more successful or PhD is more successful. It totally boils down to how a candidate or like a person is, and how he or she is able to put forth the scientific and apply the knowledge learned, be it from the PhD course or be it from the experience in a company.
Okay. What I would say is with PhD, during a PhD journey, you really almost always get to do what you want to do. Like if you want to focus on a particular therapeutic area, you get to do that. For example, if you want to work in cancer, or if you want to work in, say, cardiovascular area, you get to do that, because most likely students select an advisor who's working in that particular area. However, when you go into the industry, you pretty much have to carry forward what is already done, right? If you get selected into the vaccines team, you have no choice but to work for in the vaccine therapeutic area. You have very little choice. But if there's somebody who is really driven and passionate about a particular disease area they want to work, I think PhD is the way forward, because for them, because in the industry and even in masters, from what I know from my friends who have just done their masters, they have to work within their limited resources they have, or the existing projects they have, because there's very little you can accomplish in 1 year, because you pretty much take your courses for the first 1 year and you do your thesis in the next year. So in my opinion, there's very little you can accomplish in 1 year if you want to do your own project. So if you want to do your own thing, you're very passionate about one particular subject, and PhD is the way to go. And of course, your PI should have the resources for it. Yeah, that is what my...
What are the trending careers in pharmacy? Looking at COVID coming in right now, the way COVID is. So what are the trending careers in pharmacy?
You want to go first, Nikita?
Yeah, sure. So I would see it as, of course, vaccine is like now a booming career option, because right now it's a need of vaccines. I would say like the upcoming pharma trend would be artificial intelligence, one, because there's so much research and so much studies which are going on that we need something which is doing it the same thing on a large scale and with the 100% accuracy. So, and not only in like pharma, but also in other fields, I may say. The second upcoming trend that I may say is the combination of medical devices with the drugs. Like a particular drug is maybe inserted in your body, or like be it like for contraception, or be it for the people who want to quit smoking. So those are the upcoming trends. But again, I would say choose your career option according to your interest and not because it's like a upcoming trend. So yeah.
I think the pharma industry, I mean, COVID or no COVID, I think pharma industry has boomed during COVID, to be honest. There have been many more job openings in pretty much, lab-based sciences, and as well as I'm a non-lab-based person. So I do the same machine learning stuff or pharmacoepidemiology outcomes research. So we do a lot of database stuff. We look at the effect of real-world evidence. By real-world evidence, I mean generating evidence from data by using different methods, be it machine learning or traditional statistical methods or pharmacoepidemiological methods. We generate real world data and not clinical trial data. So why this is important is because in clinical trial, the population is very restricted. You cannot have patient with certain comorbidities. For example, if you're doing a clinical trial in COVID, you cannot have a patient with a pre-existing chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, right? So we do this kind of research where we have all patients and we look at their outcomes, how they're looking at. So I think this field is coming up rapidly, as Nikita said, because we use machine learning methods, we use traditional statistics, all of that. And also, of course, it also can be done remotely. So hence this field is coming rapidly up. And I think vaccines area is coming up very rapidly as more and more companies are trying to, now come up with vaccines which are effective against all the COVID variants and any variant that is going to come up in the future. So I feel the vaccines therapeutic area is coming up very fast. Another area which I feel is really coming up is cancer area, because a lot of new therapies like CAR T cell therapy, etc., is coming up. CAR T cell therapy is basically modifying your own antibodies to fight against cancer. So these novel therapies are coming up very fast in the US. And a lot of research, a lot of clinical trials are currently on. Cancer and cardiovascular, I think these are some therapeutic areas, and vaccines, some therapeutic areas which are booming and there is no end. I mean, nobody has found like a one-stop solution for cancer yet. Yes, we are there. We are much better than we were 10 years back, but yeah.
Yeah, but there's one question. You mentioned that a lot of AI, ML, and all that. So do you need a computer science skill set underlying your supporting your pharmaceutical background?
Not really, because you were taught a lot of machine learning and all of these. You're taught R, Python. These courses are available here as a PhD student who's into pharmaceutical health outcomes, or any program that is similar to, or public health for that matter. And you can always have you have a committee of 5 people in like a typical PhD program. 3 are from your own department, 2 are from outside. So if you're specializing in something like machine learning or AI, or something you don't have knowledge of, you can always have someone from the computer science department on your committee who can help you with it.
Okay. Nikita, you say the same thing, that you picked up the skill sets?
Yes, so not as advanced as Python and stuff, but like general, like be it like running a particular software which works along with HPLC or UPLC, or some machinery that has to be learned, which goes along with analyzing the data, be it like other instruments for like flow, for example, ring shear, or for like any equipment. It has to be like just like analyzing the data. So the software is associated with those. Yes.
Got it. Okay. Coming back to this, what are the internship opportunities available for pharmacy students? I know you both have had internships. Has it been easy to get internships in pharmaceutical field? Obviously, the pharmacy field is just booming now because of the COVID and everything. But Som, you've been around for a long time, and this is pre-COVID as well. And both of you actually, did you find internships relatively easy to get?
I felt last year was a little difficult because companies were figuring out whether they want to go ahead with internships or not, whether they want to keep a virtual environment, or whether they want to completely do away with internships, because they were, it was very uncertain. But eventually they decided to go ahead. I think last year was difficult. This year was quite easy. I think the first company I applied to, I got in. But I would say I wouldn't call it very difficult. It's very doable. So if you ask me for a typical somebody who's doing typically a PhD, you do get I applied to 50 to 60 positions, and I did end up getting at least 10 to 15 interviews. So wow. It's not that difficult, to be honest. You do end up getting in, because as a PhD applicant, you are expected to have a certain skill set, and not many students dare to do a PhD because it is tough. And so they expect you to know a certain skill set. They expect you to know your basics very well, because I think they want a lot of PhD students in their teams, like interns. A reason for that is a lot of these people who are at their director or associate director position lose touch with their basics. They don't know what is the basic concepts in pharmacoepidemiology, for example. What is a case control or cohort, or all of these things? They lose touch. So when a PhD student comes up, all things are very fresh in our minds. So it's easy for them to pick up things very quickly. It's very easy to lose touch of your academics when you get into industry. So I think that way it really helps the companies as well.
Nikita, you?
Yeah, when I was in my second year of my master's, I chose a co-op option instead of thesis. So finding my first co-op was easy because it was pre-COVID, and I gave around 20 interviews and I got in like 5 of them. So I chose the one which kind of interests me. The second co-op was also in like the pre-COVID, but the thing is that in the middle of my co-op, the COVID hit. So I was allowed to work from home just because it was a multinational company, and also they that was the only company which kind of allowed us to like work from home. And I could explore artificial intelligence, so it was a good thing for me actually, so that so I could get the experience of artificial intelligence. But on the other hand, few of my colleagues lost their job because of COVID. So and when I was finding my job, then that was a time when people were actually losing their jobs. So it was a little difficult time for me, but I applied to around 300, 400 jobs, and I got in 2 of them. So it was just because it was COVID. Otherwise, it would have been a little easier, but yeah.
So what you're telling me is that the opportunities are there for pharmacy across the board. But do you think there's more for pharmaceutics versus pharmacology, or both have the same equal weightage in terms of opportunities?
So I think it's kind of equal. The research which goes on is a little different. Like if it's pharmaceutical science or like pharmaceutics, for example, it is just like working on the chemical or physical changes to the therapeutics, be it formulations, and like research which goes on developing the formulation of a particular drug. As compared to pharmacology is testing the drug in a living organism, be it rats, mice, or like cells for that matter, and then analyzing it. So both are like the lab perspective, but I think those are like equal. Yeah, pretty much equal.
Any other fields that? Sorry, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, no, I was saying that I think how much from how much I've known, at least getting a job in pharmaceutics or pharmacology is both are very good, both are booming. But it's also about being at the right place at the right time. Because if you are doing, for example, say aerosol research, or you're working in the pulmonary area, and a company needs someone as a research scientist in the pulmonary area, you will be automatically in. So it's also about a luck factor, I think, plays a role. And it's also about being in the right place at the right time, because companies have their own departments, different department in the lab handling, say, the neuro area versus the cardiac area versus the lung, and if you have the expertise versus the other candidates, you will automatically be in. And yeah.
I would like to add to it. The similar situation happened with me. My first co-op was I wanted to do something in formulations, and I got selected for working on the GI track. Because of my first co-op, also I got interested in GI track, and my second co-op also was in GI track. And luckily, even in GSK, there was an opening for the UR-GI. So that is how I ended up in GI. So yeah, that was something right place, right time. Yeah.
Let me ask you, what is the starting salaries for someone who actually graduates with pharmacy? And what is the career progression that a student can expect?
Do you want to go ahead first?
Yeah, I would talk about like a lab perspective, because I'm in that sense, right, in that situation right now. So for an entry level position, it could be around 70 to around 85, depending on the area, depending upon company, be it startup or multinational. So those factors play a role. But as far as I know about my colleagues, friends, around 70 to 85 as a startup, it's like a starting job, like an entry level position. Of course, then you go higher, promotions and everything, but that's the starting for a pharmaceutical scientist.
So my field overall is called health economics and outcomes research. So we involve all the novel techniques, all the machine learning, AI, epidemiology, cost effectiveness analysis, all of those models you see, COVID models, prediction models you see on television are all done by people like us. So I think that is in demand since the last couple of years. And I would say the starting salary depends on the location. If you are on the East, so most pharmaceutical companies are concentrated on the East Coast, New York, Boston area, or the West Coast. It's the Bay Area and a few companies in the LA area as well. So if it's on the East Coast, I think I would say after PhD, anything between 110 to 160, sometimes even beyond that, because I've had a senior who was exceptional. He got an O1 visa and he got a starting salary of 210.
O1. He got an O1 directly.
O1, yeah. Okay. Someone with exceptional talent. So he graduated in 2019, but he completed his PhD in 6 years. So I think it was worth the grind. But he was an exception. But I think otherwise, anything between 120 to maybe 110 to 140 for the East Coast and 140 to 180, I would say, for the West Coast, in the California area. So yeah, I think even for internships, they pay very well. I was at an advantage where, I worked from Texas for a company in California last year.
Wow.
But I paid for the California salary and got deducted Texas taxes because Texas does not have a state tax and a city tax. So 16% tax versus 34% tax. So I got lucky.
You loved it.
I loved it, yeah. But I would have liked in person. But anyway, something is better than nothing, I would say. And yeah.
Are you joining the company back, or are you going to be looking at other opportunities?
Yeah. So if you ask me, I prefer the East Coast more because I have honestly, I have more friends there, and I think everything is just driving distance. You don't have to take a flight and so with Merck, I may join back because I have a very good reputation, and it was a very productive period with them last 4 months or so, and I'm still in fact working with them offline. Even I'm not on CPT typically, but I'm still working on a project with them. With they agreed to do a collaboration with my advisor, and I'm still working on a project with them. So I think if that work pans out well, I will ask them if they have a position later on. So yeah.
So basically, go ahead. So Nikita, you're on H1 right now, or you're on OPT?
So yes, so I got picked up in the lottery this year. And my petition got approved just last week. So yes,
congratulations.
I'm on H1. Yes, thank you. On October 1st, my H1 will kick in.
Excellent. Okay, let me ask you a question. How important is the college that you went to into this whole process? To what extent are you using the skills that you learned in the university in the actual, with whatever you're doing in terms of research?
Okay, so I feel quite important, to be honest. So I think my department, I'm from University of Houston, and my department is one of the best in this field. I would say definitely in the top 10. And one of the biggest advantages for me is being in the Texas Medical Center, which is, I'm sure all of you know, it's the world's largest medical center. Yeah. Literally everything, it's like the heart of research here. All the top line research, everything is done here. And we are also home to the world's best cancer center, MD Anderson. So our department has collaborations with MD Anderson. And so I get a lot of opportunities to visit there, talk to the doctors there, maybe do some research there. So I think for me, it was important. In fact, I have a doctor from MD Anderson on my PhD committee as well. So I think having those connections for me helped. Being in Houston, being in this particular location, I think was important. It helped me get in touch with the right people who helped me, and I think it was important.
Great.
Even I actually align with him. your college and whatever courses is very important. I chose Northeastern in general because it focuses on the courses with the novel drug therapy and focusing particular drug to a particular organ. Like right now, I'm doing my GI track. So I think it's very important to choose according to the courses. So I would suggest people to like go to the curriculum, see what courses are, are kind of given to you, but also see all other extracurricular as in what kind of internships are provided. Northeastern has an amazing option of doing your thesis or even your co-op. So that was like a win-win situation. If a person wants to do research, you can go for a thesis, but if you want some academic, some industrial experience along with your master's, co-op is a great option because if you compare other people, other students who just completed their masters, they don't have any experience. But we, as a Northeastern graduate, we would have a 1 year experience as an intern, have an industrial experience. So that was an added benefit for us. That's one thing. And also, I would suggest, now this is not like a little bit of career or like your professional choice, but also see external factors. I was a person who is brought up in a city, and I love city life and stuff. So choose your surrounding also based on that. Be it temperature, because even temperature fluctuation, if it's so you should see other factors also. I would see, like, obviously give more importance to your courses and stuff, but also external factors. Your mental stability is also very important because you're staying alone.
True, very important. I think that is something I would 100% say, because these things nobody talks about whenever you're applying to the US. These things play a huge role. Your friends, your city, because completing doing your coursework and then walking to Walmart or some grocery store to get grocery is not possible. You're really tired, and these are really some practical day-to-day things you need to really account for. And most US cities you need a car if you're doing a PhD or whatever. It's not possible, just not possible to take public transport. Like, for example, Houston has terrible public transport. The place which takes, I can go to my university driving just 15 minutes. The bus takes me 1 hour. So it's really not that
I would
great.
also like to add a little bit, because in US, in India, you come home to your family. Here, you come home to no one. So also your friends are your family. Your surrounding is important, and just like give importance to that aspect as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Got a question for you. Two last questions. I know I've taken a lot of your time, and I thank you for being part of this symposium. How expensive is Northeastern University for tuition and living costs? This is a student question. If you take into account the co-op income that you get, what is the net cost that one can expect?
Cost around 50 lakhs rupees. Yeah.
Including living.
Including everything, yes, everything, okay. Living, everything. Yeah, and excluding including the co-op also, because after my third semester, I was paying all my bills. Yeah.
So you're talking about taking that into consideration, it still costed 50 lakhs.
Yes.
Okay.
And yep.
You probably got a stipend, so you're not paying anything. You're actually getting money as you walk around.
Yeah.
So I'm not even asking you this question. I'm not asking. Okay, last parting thoughts that you guys have for the students who are thinking of doing pharmacy. Come or not come?
No, I think definitely come. I think definitely. Yeah. I think it's a world out here. A lot more research is done in both masters, PhD. You will definitely come across research that you've never seen in India and in your pharmacy schools. And definitely, I think definitely come. A lot of opportunities, a lot of booming research to be done. One advice for anybody who wants to do a PhD, When you come here, definitely while you're choosing your advisor, don't don't go on the basis of the research that they're doing. Please make sure the advisor is a good person, because that is vital, very, very important in the 4 or 5 years. That is make or break, according to me. It's that really governs your both physical and mental health. If your advisor is a good person, he will make sure he supports you throughout the whole 4 or 5 years of or 6 years of PhD, because it's a grueling experience. Well, but it teaches you a lot about life in general, because you fail a lot of times, but you have to get up and do it the same thing, get back at it again. But yeah, I think choosing the right advisor is much more important. The advisor being a good person is more important than the research he does. Clearly, from the last couple of years of experience. So yeah, those were my thoughts.
Nikita.
Yes, I would suggest please come here, and the research and in general everything is so fascinating that you will actually fall in love with whatever you're studying and doing. So definitely come here. And being said that, I would suggest talk to many people, get to know what are their experiences, and do what you like and what really interests you. So yeah, that's pretty much about it.
Thank you guys for your valuable contribution. I think your inputs were tremendous. Right, I learned a lot, and I think the student community on just what do you call it, YouTube is as well as I believe Facebook online into this, and they are all watching you guys speak as you guys speak, watching you guys and listening to your inputs. Thank you very much for being part of this. I think it was a great session. I mean, personally speaking, I learned that the significant opportunities available for pharmacy students there, and something that we should actually, if you are a pharmacy student, something that you should seriously consider, because the opportunities between India and US is there's a huge stark difference between the two. And I think both of them commented on the same. Tomorrow we're going to end up, tomorrow's the last session of the symposium, where we're going to take 6 more sessions. The first one deals with international business, gateway opportunities. As the second one is a first-hand glimpse into the scope of civil engineering. Third, which is interesting, is entrepreneurship, the ultimate end goal. Okay, we request you guys to join in too if you guys are interested. The fourth one is a PhD value add. What is a PhD value add? The fifth one is a very interesting question that we asked, a lot of students ask us, is transition from India to US and Canada. Okay, what does it take to transition effectively and efficiently? You guys mentioned some of it, but we've got to have a whole session on this. And the last but not least is to focus on architecture, the untapped opportunities in architecture. So we thank you guys for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you guys.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.